Vicious medicine. Obviously, just by hearing the name, you know it is definitely not a good thing. And that's exactly what happened. Once this drug is used, the effects of the drug will drastically overdraw the user's vitality. But while paying such a heavy price, the effect of the vicious medicine is also quite huge. This drug, it will greatly improve a person's strength. Of course it's only temporary. And now Hody Jones has swallowed a lot of poison, and after using it regardless of the cost, he has naturally received a huge improvement. It's almost as powerful as Jinbei's, but that's it. I see, is this your choice? Even though the other party turned into a demon-like posture, Lin Yan's eyes when looking at Hody Jones were still exceptionally calm. As said before, Lin Yan is not concerned about the fate of Hody Jones. Regardless of the tragic past, the hatred for human beings, even if Hody Jones swallowed the poison and turned into a demon, Lin Yan's mood did not fluctuate at all. But since Hody Jones still made a choice despite his own warning, then you must have decided to die here. Stop being arrogant, human. Unable to stand Lin Yan's bland eyes no matter what, Hody Jones let out an amazing roar. Then in the next moment, he launched an attack on Lin Yan. As a pure Murloc supremacist, Hody Jones couldn't accept the fact that he was weaker than a mere human being. He also couldn't stand Lin Yan's contempt at all. Now he just wants to completely tear the human beings in front of him into pieces. However, the ending of fantasy is just a fantasy. Varied? G-Demon's punch was blocked by Lin Yan with one finger. Hody Jones's expression changed instantly. However, Lin Yan just looked at him indifferently. Good for nothing, not worth mentioning. In front of Lin Yan today, even after swallowing the poison and paying the heavy price of overdrafting his life, Hody Jones is still a complete weakling. This is a fact that cannot be changed no matter what means are used. The difference in strength between the two is really huge. It's so far away that it can't even be called looking up. Boom, so the next moment, Hody Jones was once again blasted out without any resistance, and then fell to the ground again with no idea of life or death. The gap is so huge that it's embarrassing. Anyone with a discerning eye can now see that even if Hody Jones risked his life, he would still be far from Lin Yan's opponent. The fifth Emperor of the Sea, powerful and terrifying. At this moment, even the fishmen and humans behind Hody Jones couldn't help but show fearful expressions on their faces. Are you going to hit this guy on the head? But even so. Again. Even after being hit hard twice and his consciousness becoming a little blurry at this moment, Hody Jones had no intention of giving up. Instead, he stood up again without fear of death. Even anyone can see that he is already a candle in the wind. Then under the fearful gaze of everyone, Hody Jones once again showed a crazy smile on his face, and then continued to stuff a large amount of poison into his mouth regardless. Seeing this scene, even Fisher Tiger looked away slightly and couldn't bear to continue watching. Brave and not afraid of death. This is true fearlessness of death. The man in front of him could be called a monster. The monster born from the darkness of the Fishman Island. It's hard to imagine how far Hody Jones' hatred for human beings has reached, which will drive him to stand up again and again, even in the face of completely invincible strong men without giving in. Not so much hatred. This has risen to the level of obsession. No doubt. The man named Hody Jones is a monster born step by step from the darkest corner of the Fishman Island. Seeing Hody Jones staggering towards him again, even Lin Yan couldn't help but have a flash of surprise in his eyes. If it is pure malice, the Hody Jones in front of him is already comparable to Doflamingo. Are you really not afraid of death at all? Lin Yan asked Hody Jones with a frown. Haha. As long as we can launch a holy war. In response, Hody Jones just put a murderous smile on his face. Even now, this man still has not forgotten the idea of going to war with humans. Hody Jones smiled like a bloodthirsty and ferocious monster. Even though he probably knew that he could not defeat Lin Yan in front of him, he never had any intention of giving up. As long as it can destroy Neptune's rule, stir up hatred between humans and Murlocs. Even if you never come back, then leave and never come back. Realizing that he could not achieve victory no matter what, Hody Jones resorted to his last resort. The hatred between Murlocs and humans will never go away. Hody Jones, the monster that he is, knows this. And the last thing he has to do is to uncover this bloody scar again. Hey. With a burst of malicious laughter, Hody Jones's eyes did not look at Lin Yan for the first time, but cast his eyes on Shirahoshi not far away. The chains of hatred will never be broken, it goes on ad infinitum. With ultimate malice in his eyes, Hody Jones moved his lips, and then slowly spoke to Shirahoshi. Speaking of which, Princess Otahime is really a naive person. Why do you have the nerve to mention that person? When Hody Jones suddenly mentioned Princess Otahime, all the fishmen present changed their expressions, and Fisher Tiger couldn't help but shout angrily. The veins on his forehead popped out, obviously he was extremely angry. The sincere dream that the Lord had. You are the one who can comment at will. Even Fisher Tiger couldn't help shouting angrily, and the reactions of the other fishmen were predictable. Instantly, the atmosphere became extremely sinister. As mentioned before, Princess Otahime's name has become a taboo on the Fishmen Island today. But Hody Jones did turn a deaf ear to the angry looks. He just looked at Shirahoshi with a ferocious smile on his face with the last bit of reason he had left. The next moment, a whisper like a devil blurted out. Princess Shirahoshi, don't you want to know the truth about that year? As Hody Jones said these words, everyone subconsciously held their breath. The truth back then. Isn't that? Even though everyone knew that Hody Jones had turned into a demon, they still couldn't help but cast their gazes at him when they heard him say these words. After all, let's talk about the incident when Princess Otahime was killed. Even though most fishmen are not clear about the specific process, if you think about it carefully, you can actually find a lot of doubts. Is it possible? Is it related to Hody Jones in front of me? The fish people began to speculate in their hearts, and Neptune's face instantly became extremely ugly. Shirahoshi was silent about this. Lin Yan was also very rare and did not intend to stop him. He just looked at Hody Jones in front of him calmly, not knowing what he was thinking. See no one to stop yourself. Hody Jones nodded with great satisfaction. The ferocious smile on his face did not diminish at all. As everyone knows, Princess Otahime was assassinated by humans. Those despicable and shameless humans killed our noble princess. Hody Jones smiled arrogantly. Hearing this, the fishmen all felt sad. Many people in the Fishmen Island knew about this matter. It is for this reason and after the death of the princess that the Fishmen Island has been closed until now. Everyone is confused. A beautiful vision that was glimpsed because of the presence of the princess. Will it be completely cut off due to her death? Hearing Hody Jones' old story brought up again, many fishmen had expressions of sadness and nostalgia on their faces. However, the next second, Hody Jones changed the subject. But in the end, Princess Otahime was not killed by a human. Hearing this, everyone's expressions were startled again. Not killed by humans? What's the meaning? Could it be that there was another hidden secret behind what happened back then? Seemingly satisfied with everyone's shocked looks, Hody Jones laughed a few more times, and then finally told the truth about that year. The last one to take action was me, Hody Jones. Varied. There is nothing we can do about it. We are fishmen, but we want to coexist peacefully with humans. Even our compatriots are unforgivable. How long will you continue to be deceived by so-called kindness? Hody Jones looked at everyone with cold eyes. We fish people are the best race. It is simply unreasonable to coexist peacefully with humans. Are you going to forget what happened when our compatriots were tortured by humans? Do you really plan to coexist peacefully with those lower creatures? Hody Jones said every word. There was an almost insane hatred for humans in his tone. Since his childhood, Hody Jones has constantly seen images of fishmen being tortured by humans, living in the darkest backstreets of the Fishmen Island. Such a scene is all too common for Hody Jones. Therefore, he could not forgive Princess Otahime for wanting to coexist peacefully with humans. An almost indescribable hatred of human beings has twisted Hody Jones into a demon. Definitely no amount of sunlight can save, and there are actually many fishmen like him. Living restlessly with hatred for human beings. Every one of them is a vengeful ghost. It seemed that they were shocked by the crazy hatred in Hody Jones's tone. After learning the shocking facts of that year, everyone was dumbfounded. Princess Otahime actually. And regardless of that, there are points where Hody Jones is telling the truth. Scenes of fishmen being tortured by humans should not be too common. Thinking of this, quite a few fishmen were immediately shaken, with hesitant expressions on their faces. Lin Yan watched all this indifferently, as said before. Extreme good and extreme evil are both rare things. The most in this world are actually the wavering majority. Twisted as Hody Jones needless to say. And of course, there are people like Princess Otahime who are like sunshine. Hody Jones. When anger accumulates to a certain level, an explosion will inevitably follow. After learning the truth about that year from Hody Jones, Fisher Tiger finally couldn't help but roar with the rage in his heart. What have you been doing? Fisher Tiger rarely looked at a person with such murderous eyes. It was obvious that he was completely angered. However, seeing this scene, Hody Jones laughed coldly. Do you hate me? Yes, hate me. The chain of hatred will never be cut off, it will only give birth to greater hatred. Brother Tiger, don't you understand? As long as such things are still going on, if it happens, we can't coexist peacefully with humans. As he said that, Hody Jones' tone paused slightly. Ignoring Fisher Tiger's angry expression, he looked at Shirahoshi with a smile. What will our Princess Shirahoshi think after knowing the truth? Hearing this, Fisher Tiger's expression was suddenly shocked. Yes, this is the most important thing. Princess Otahime is Princess Shirahoshi's mother. How could there be a daughter in this world who didn't care about her mother's death? What's more, Fisher Tiger knew very well how important the existence of Princess Otahime was in Shirahoshi's heart. Reminiscent of Shirahoshi's identity as Poseidon. Even Fisher Tiger couldn't help but feel his scalp numb, and suddenly looked at Princess Shirahoshi with great concern. Hody Jones is Princess Shirahoshi's enemy, if we recklessly cause trouble here. For a moment, Fisher Tiger's heart was filled with worry. Until this moment, Lin Yan's expression remained unchanged. No one noticed Shirahoshi's current expression except him. Although there was sadness, there was no hysterical anger at all. The girl looked at Hody Jones with a somewhat complicated look, but more calm. Why? Seeing Shirahoshi like this, even Lin Yan couldn't help but sigh slightly. Maybe of all the people here, only he knows. What decision will this very crybaby and timid girl make next? In fact, Yi Feng never took action, waiting for Shirahoshi's decision. Then as Hody Jones' expression gradually stiffened, Shirahoshi suddenly sniffed, trying not to let his tears fall. But he spoke to Hody Jones extremely seriously. I've known about this for a long time. Hody Jones' expression froze. Completely frozen. Hearing what Shirahoshi said, he could hardly believe his ears, and his originally vicious and ferocious expression instantly became dull. There was only deep disbelief in his eyes. Does Shirahoshi know the truth? Was he exposed back then? No. That's not the problem. Is it really possible to know the truth but not take revenge on the enemy? Hody Jones's brain was a mess. Obviously, Shirahoshi's calm reaction far exceeded his expectations. From this moment on, Hody Jones suddenly felt ultimate uneasiness in his heart. Even Lin Yan didn't have that kind of uneasiness. No. How is it possible? This doesn't make sense, you already knew it. Why don't you take revenge? Facing Shirahoshi with a slightly determined expression, Hody Jones, who had long since turned into a monster, actually staggered back a few steps. He is afraid of something, however, Shirahoshi just looked at him calmly. I know you killed Mother. I was right next to my mother at that time. Mother gave me one last instruction before leaving. Now I have decided to comply with her wishes. Shirahoshi's tone seemed choked, but in the end he bravely looked at the incredulous Hody Jones. He spoke word by word. Hody Jones, I forgive you. My beloved mother, you don't want me to pass on my hatred, so I forgive you. After saying that, Shirahoshi seemed to have lost all his strength. He suddenly collapsed on the ground, and the tears he had been holding back for a long time finally fell. No. No, 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 no. For a moment, Hody Jones's face showed a horrified expression as if the meaning of his existence had been completely negated. He staggered and fell backward, but what followed was extreme madness. Hody Jones will never accept this. Don't want to pass on the hatred? How could such a thing be allowed? This is simply denying all of my efforts so far, and trampling on the meaning of my existence. So there was almost no hesitation. Hody Jones once again grabbed a handful of the poison and stuffed it into his mouth regardless. Lin Yan turned a blind eye to all this. Hody Jones completely lost interest in doubting life. Lin Yan just turned his head, looked at Shirahoshi who was covering his pretty face and crying, and gave the girl an appreciative look. You're so brave. Lin Yan admired sincerely. To be able to let the kind-hearted Shirahoshi say these words, the girl has done her best. There is no doubt about it. After all, not everyone can follow his mother's will and forgive his enemy who killed someone important to him. Lin Yan can completely imagine how unwilling Shirahoshi was. But that's exactly what it should be. What I have to do next is very simple. Lin Yan sighed softly. Then the next second, his momentum suddenly exploded. Boom, If Lin Yan before was like a napping lion, just teasing Hody Jones. So the lion is already enraged at this moment. Under the horrified expressions of everyone on the Fishman Island, the huge aura erupting from Lin Yan almost turned into reality, and even began to affect the physical world. Click. Click. Centered on the place where Lin Yan was standing, the entire seabed where the Fishman Island was located began to crumble inch by inch. If Lin Yan had not shown some mercy, the entire the Fishman Island would have been destroyed by this momentum. The powerful beings had expressions of astonishment on their faces. It's actually so powerful. Is this the Emperor of the Sea? For a moment, everyone looked at Lin Yan with awe. However, Lin Yan completely ignored the various looks around him and just narrowed his eyes at Hody Jones in front of him. The indifference of eyes, it was like looking at a dead person. You will die today. Even Uranus Lousy can't save you. I said. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. In an instant, he was overwhelmed by Lin Yan's huge momentum and he vomited 3 liters of blood. However, Hody Jones didn't care at all, but his smile became more and more crazy. They all must die. Hody Jones smiled coldly, as if he didn't care that his body was about to collapse. Side effects of harsh drugs. Lin Yan's contempt. And Shirahoshi's forgiveness. Hody Jones has completely lost his mind. Since you people all want to coexist peacefully with humans, then just go to hell. I will become the new king on the ashes of the Fishman Island, and then launch a holy war for the Fishmen. You forced me. Hody Jones raised his head and roared, and then launched his last resort without hesitation. Look. What is that? Seeing Hody Jones's hysterical madness, all the fishmen except Lin Yan and a few others took a step back, and then someone soon discovered that something was wrong. Look up. That's a boat? Why is it so huge? It seems to be coming. After seeing clearly what it was, most people had expressions of horror on their faces. Boat. Nanima is a huge ship that is as big as the entire the Fishman Island. And look at this meaning. It hit the Fishman Island. The scene, which was like a natural disaster, caused despair to appear on the faces of most people. Without giving them much time to breathe and react, the huge ship quickly hit the bubble protecting the entire the Fishman Island. It was like hitting a ball of cotton. The huge bubble deflated immediately. Anyone with a discerning eye can probably tell that this won't last long. Once this thing lands on the Fishman Island, isn't that a complete failure? After realizing this, all the fishmen couldn't help but have a trace of panic on their faces. Neptune's expression also changed drastically in an instant. That's Noah. How is that possible? Neptune shouted in shock. Why does this thing appear here? Could it be that the destruction of the Fishman Island is today? Facing such a huge ship and looking at the scene in front of him that was like a natural disaster, even Neptune, as the king, couldn't help but feel a little desperate for a moment. But his reaction was still very quick. Seeing that the bubble protecting the Fishman Island could not last long, Neptune did not hesitate at all and immediately turned to look at Lin Yan. Master Lin Yan, please save the Fishman Island. Neptune begged Lin Yan anxiously. This is also a matter of course. After all, if you really let that thing fall, I'm afraid the entire the Fishman Island is going to die. No wonder Neptune is not in a hurry, although it is a bit embarrassing for him as a king to ask for help at this time. But it's better than the Fishman Island being completely destroyed, right? However, it was a pity that Lin Yan did not react at all to Neptune's anxious shouts. He just narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at the giant ship above his head. Master Lin Yan? Neptune is going crazy. Even if you don't plan to help, you still want to talk. Seeing the giant ship above his head getting closer and closer, Neptune became extremely anxious. But even so, he didn't dare to rush Lin Yan. After all, in the face of such a natural disaster, the only person present who has the ability to turn the tide is the adult in front of him. He really didn't dare to push me at all. Don't worry, the sky won't fall. However, facing Neptune's extremely anxious look, Lin Yan just yawned lightly, as if he didn't pay attention to what was happening in front of him at all. Neptune was relieved when he saw this, but it turns out he seemed to be happy a little too early. Lin Yan just stood there, squinting his eyes and looking at the giant ship above his head for a while, and then turned to look at Shirahoshi with a smile. I have no intention of taking action at all. Speaking of which, Shirahoshi, what do you think we should do about this? As if he didn't expect that Lin Yan would suddenly ask him, Shirahoshi even forgot to continue crying and pointed to his pretty face in confusion. The confused expression looks very cute. Well, What do you think? Ah. Well, I think we should block it. Shirahoshi looked at Lin Yan a little cutely and replied, as if he had no idea why the young man suddenly asked him this. Lin Yan nodded seriously. I think so too, then Shirahoshi, please stop it. As soon as these words came out, the place instantly became silent. Isn't this nonsense? Neptune almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Let Shirahoshi stop this thing. It's simply impossible. As an old father, Neptune knows his daughter best. Don't talk about such a natural disaster. Shirahoshi has trouble even killing a chicken. As a result, Lin Yan actually asked the powerless Shirahoshi to intercept such a deadly thing? Neptune has a saying MMP, and we're going to talk about it now. But having said that, with such a fatal thing hanging over his head now, Neptune did not dare to directly refute Lin Yan. After hesitating for a long time, Neptune spoke with a wry smile. Master Lin Yan, please don't embarrass Shirahoshi. I think Shirahoshi is capable of it. Unfortunately, Lin Yan obviously has a completely different view. You know, Shirahoshi is Poseidon, one of the 3 major weapons in ancient times. If used correctly, this can be a powerful force that can affect the entire world. Why does a mere boat matter? And in Shirahoshi's previous performance, Lin Yan also saw the girl's strong side. On the surface, this little princess looks timid, naive, and very crybaby, but she is actually far less timid than she appears. Lin Yan is convinced of this. Raising his hand to signal Neptune not to speak, Lin Yan looked at Shirahoshi very seriously. Shirahoshi, the Fishmen Island is your home, don't you want to protect it? Shirahoshi bit his lip hesitantly. Yes, but I can't do it. No, you can do it, because you are special. However, Lin Yan interrupted Shirahoshi without hesitation. Special existence. Hearing Lin Yan say this, Shirahoshi's little face couldn't help but blush slightly, and looking at Shirahoshi like this, Lin Yan laughed softly. Your power is very special, but you have never thought of using it. If you are now, you have the ability to protect the entire the Fishmen Island. He looked straight at Shirahoshi in front of him. Lin Yan said very seriously. There is no doubt that Shirahoshi, as a Poseidon, possesses special powers. That is God's gift to Shirahoshi. If it was just when he met Shirahoshi, Lin Yan might have to think about it a little bit. But after seeing Shirahoshi's previous decision, Lin Yan is very convinced. Now this girl is qualified to take back her own power. Protect the Fishmen Island. Listening to Lin Yan's words, Shirahoshi stared blankly at the serious-looking man in front of him, and for some reason, a warmth suddenly flashed in his heart. So this is what it feels like to be trusted. So soon, Shirahoshi bit his lip and nodded. What should I do? Shirahoshi asked Lin Yan with some anxiety. In fact, she doubted whether she had the ability Lin Yan mentioned. But if Lin Yan believes in himself, I am willing to give it a try myself. Just call out what's in your heart. Lin Yan chuckled and nodded to the girl. To be honest, if it were an ordinary girl, I would probably start cursing at this time. Call your heart? You might as well let me believe it. However, Shirahoshi's character is extremely well behaved. After hearing Lin Yan's words, he immediately closed his eyes and clasped his hands. She looks like a saint praying sincerely, as said before. Since Lin Yan believes in me, I'm willing to give it a try. Even though Shirahoshi had no idea what his power was, the girl still tried hard to call it out in her heart. To protect my home. To protect what my mother left behind from being destroyed. 2. Don't let him down. Please help me. Under various emotions ranging from sadness to warmth, Shirahoshi subconsciously called out. What she didn't know was, following this call, an invisible wave suddenly spread from her body, and then spread in all directions at an extremely fast speed. This is a call from the king. It is also the true power of Shirahoshi. This fluctuation seemed extremely obscure, and even the few people standing next to Shirahoshi were completely unaware of it. Only Lin Yan's eyes narrowed instantly. With his strength, it was naturally impossible to miss this, and a gratified smile appeared on his face. Following this strange and powerful wave, Poseidon, one of the 3 ancient weapons, awakened today. Sea Kings, your emperor is back. Neptune is almost dying of anxiety. What the hell are you doing? Seeing that thing is about to fall, are you really so relaxed? To be honest, if Lin Yan hadn't always been very reliable in doing things, Neptune would have been able to curse people. Exist? Can you give me some face? It's not that he doesn't believe in his daughter, but that the crisis of destruction of the Fishmen Island is imminent now. If Shirahoshi fails accidentally, who can bear the consequences? The people of Neptune are going numb. But having said that, although he was very puzzled by Lin Yan's thoughts in various senses, at this juncture, Neptune did not dare to disturb Shirahoshi at all. He just stared at his daughter nervously, weak, pitiful, and helpless. And it is conceivable. Even if King Neptune is like this, how can the rest of the people feel at ease? Shirahoshi looked at him without making any move for a long time. Although the fish people didn't say anything, their hearts couldn't help but sink. Could it be that today is the end of the Fishmen Island? Suddenly, the crowd became a little riotous. Perhaps there was no panic from beginning to end, and only the three girls around Lin Yan, Fisher Tiger and Jinbei were left. Their captain. I won't do anything without a doubt. They knew this very well, so they didn't look worried at all, they just looked at Shirahoshi with smiles. And let's take a step back. Even if something goes wrong, it's just a boat, can't Lin Yan stop it? It doesn't exist. Okay, small question, sit down. So in this extremely silent atmosphere, at a certain moment, Shirahoshi suddenly turned his head and looked in a certain direction if he felt something. Neptune naturally noticed this immediately and quickly followed Shirahoshi's eyes. And then the next second, Neptune was completely stunned. This is. Even as the king of the Fishmen Island, Neptune could hardly guarantee that he would not lose his composure when seeing this scene in front of him. After all, this is too incredible. Look, okay, it seems to have stopped. Real. No. Are you all blind? Did you see what is behind the boat? Seemingly noticing Neptune's widened eyes, many fishmen immediately began to move their gazes. However, when everyone saw this amazing scene in front of them, everyone was dumbfounded. What on earth did I see? Sea kings. Some people looked at this scene in stunned silence, their jaws about to drop to the ground. And it's not just any sea kings. This huge size alone is completely unmatched by ordinary sea kings. Is there such a thing? Looking at the several sea kings in front of them, which were so huge that they were not even much smaller than the entire the Fishmen Island, everyone immediately stopped talking and just stared blankly at the three sea kings in front of them. What? Boat? What a broken ship. Didn't you see being pulled by sea kings? In an instant, everyone's minds were in a state of confusion. What did Princess Shirahoshi do? Why are sea kings here? Could it be God's blessing? All the fishmen who saw this scene had big question marks in their little heads. I wanted to ask what was going on, but after seeing the kind eyes of some supergiant sea kings in front of me. Don't dare to move. Don't dare to move. So for a moment, the situation was strangely silent, and everyone stared at the huge sea kings with big eyes and small eyes. It actually looks a little funny. The fish people said that their heads were buzzing now. However, there were still many quick-thinking people who reacted and looked at Shirahoshi not far away in disbelief. Is it possible? The eyes everyone looked at Shirahoshi gradually became a little strange. Fortunately, Neptune responded quickly. Master Lin Yan, thank you so much for your help this time. I just saw Shirahoshi's failure and I don't know what to do. Neptune immediately raised his smile and smiled at Lin Yan. The meaning is probably obvious. The fact that Shirahoshi is Poseidon cannot be revealed yet, at least not here. As a father who dotes on his daughter very much, Neptune thought of this almost immediately. Anyway, Shirahoshi's status as Poseidon cannot be revealed here. Once what happened today is told here, it is conceivable that the Fishmen Island will face endless troubles. It is a crime for an ordinary man to carry a jade without any guilt. It has to be said that to be able to sit in the position of the king of the Fishmen Island, Neptune obviously has a lot of skills. He reacted immediately and handed the pot to Lin Yan. Lin Yan naturally understood. Seeing Neptune's complicated eyes with a hint of pleading, Lin Yan just smiled slightly, and then nodded happily. It was considered as a promise to Neptune to take over this matter. Anyway, as we all know, Talon has a lot of weird abilities, and now it seems that he can borrow this from Sea Kings. Neptune breathed a sigh of relief. The fish people also received a reasonable explanation, and their faces showed relaxed expressions. The huge Sea Kings are simply terrifying. What? Summoned by Lord Lin Yan? Oh, that's okay. The fish people have almost the same idea, which is natural. After all, who is Lin Yan? That is the fifth emperor on the sea. What's wrong with Mr. Lin Yan's special skills? Small question, sit down. Almost without Lin Yan opening his mouth to explain anything, The Murlocs already had various conjectured secrets in their minds, and then they accepted them very simply. Can only say, brain boosters are so terrifying. Seeing that no one seemed to suspect anything, Neptune let out a sigh of relief. All in all, as long as Shirahoshi's identity is not exposed. That's not a big problem, right? Ahem, Master Lin Yan. Now that the matter here has been resolved, why don't we go in and talk? After wiping the cold sweat on his forehead, Neptune smiled warmly at Lin Yan. Lin Yan certainly had no reason to refuse. With a rather gentle smile on his face, Lin Yan smiled and nodded to Neptune. Neptune felt relieved immediately. Look, this insistence on etiquette is indeed very decent. Neptune said that talking to smart people is easy. However, when Neptune gave Lin Yan a grateful look and then looked at Lin Yan's feet, he couldn't help but froze for a moment. Where are people? Neck mom. Let Hody Jones run away. Neptune knew immediately what was happening. It must be because the giant ship Noah suddenly appeared before, and Hody Jones took advantage of the commotion of the crowd to escape. Think of this. Even Neptune frowned with regret. After all, that guy is too dangerous. It's okay for Lin Yan to still be on the Fishmen Island now, but there will be time for Lin Yan to leave, and when that time comes. Thinking about it, the expression on Neptune's face became a little worried. Let the tiger return to the mountain. There will be endless troubles. Of course, Neptune had no intention of being dissatisfied with Lin Yan. In that situation, almost everyone's attention was on the huge ship that suddenly appeared. Who would care about the seriously injured and dying Hody Jones? What's more, the Fishmen Island was able to survive this time entirely because of Lin Yan's existence. It's not too late to thank you. Where could there be dissatisfaction? Thinking about it, Neptune couldn't help but reveal a wry smile on his face and cupped his hands towards Lin Yan. Master Lin Yan, look. It doesn't matter, I will handle this matter for you. Lin Yan's eyes flashed and he whispered to Neptune. Upon hearing this, Neptune was obviously stunned for a moment, and then his expression relaxed. So that's it. This time the crisis on the Fishmen Island has almost been resolved. Although Hody Jones, the leader of the thieves, has not yet been brought to justice, without his intimidation and leadership, the remaining people are just a bunch of rabble. Lin Yan doesn't even need to take action. The Fishmen Island elite, who were already filled with righteous indignation, quickly arranged these people clearly. It is worth mentioning that under everyone's surprised looks, Lin Yan deliberately stopped Vanderdyken, asked Neptune for a pool, and then threw the guy into the pool to rinse him. What to do? Wash his hands. After Vanderdyken's target fruit ability leaves a mark on the target, the mark will disappear once the target is washed. So in order to keep chasing Shirahoshi, this guy hasn't washed his hands in I don't know how long. Just thinking of this made Lin Yan look disgusted. Lin Yan had no interest in killing a small character like Vanderdyken. After removing the mark on his hand, he readily handed over Vanderdyken to Neptune. Trust this father who loves and protects his daughter. The warm reception given to Vanderdyken left him very satisfied. Of course, as for the follow-up matters, whether Vanderdyken is dead or alive, Lin Yan said that he has no interest at all. So, this happened. Without the two bosses, it was very easy to clean up these small fish and shrimps. It didn't take long for everyone to return to the hall of the palace. Fortunately, because of Lin Yan's presence, the other party didn't wreak havoc for long at all. Most parts of the palace were not damaged. It's just a matter of finding someone to repair the city gate. In light of this, Neptune seems to be in a pretty good mood. Let's arrange the many aftermath matters in an orderly manner. After about 2 hours, everyone will get back together. Master Lin Yan, I really want to thank you this time. Without your presence, I can't imagine how much our losses would have been this time. Sitting in his seat, Neptune cast a grateful look at Lin Yan. If it weren't for Lin Yan, maybe Hody Jones will really succeed this time. Neptune couldn't even imagine what the Fishmen Island would look like by then. It doesn't matter, it's just a little effort. Lin Yan was also very calm about Neptune's gratitude. He could still bear this gratitude. What are your plans next? Lin Yan asked, looking at Neptune. After this incident, the news that Shirahoshi has special powers will probably spread slowly. There will always be some people who know that Shirahoshi belongs to Poseidon. Lin Yan said this pointedly, and then stretched out his hand to point to the sky in a very subtle way. I don't know about other forces, but some people in the world government must have a clear conscience. Regarding this matter. Hearing Lin Yan say this, Neptune's expression was silent for a while. To be honest, Neptune is very self-aware. With the current power of the Fishman Island, it is impossible to protect Shirahoshi as Poseidon unless Shirahoshi completely grows up. And obvious. If given the chance, the world government would definitely not give Shirahoshi time to grow up. For a moment, Neptune's expression became a little sad. And what Lin Yan wants is what Neptune looks like now. Seeing Neptune's dilemma, Lin Yan suddenly coughed. Ahem, Neptune, I have something to say, which may be the best way to protect Shirahoshi. Are you interested in hearing it? Lin Yan smiled at Neptune in front of him. Huh? Master Lin Yan has something to do? Hearing this, Neptune's expression suddenly lit up, and he hurriedly asked Lin Yan. Well, it's actually quite simple to say. Seeing Neptune's bright eyes, Lin Yan knew that now was the key, and immediately pretended to tidy up his clothes. Next, he will start to deceive. No, he will try to convince people with reason. After considering his words, Lin Yan spoke slowly. The Fishman Island has been the territory of my Whitebeard pirates since ancient times, and outsiders will never be allowed to interfere. You also know this, Neptune. But Shirahoshi's status as Poseidon is very important. I think the world government will not give up so easily. After all, once Shirahoshi grows up, he will be a force that can change the world. So in my opinion, what Shirahoshi needs most now is a strong backing. As he spoke, Lin Yan's tone paused slightly. So my opinion is, it's better to let Shirahoshi join me. With me here, the world government should have a lot of concerns. Lin Yan said this very modestly. That's right. The old habit happened again. Lin Yan likes Shirahoshi, who is simple, kind and talented. It just so happens that Shirahoshi's abilities can no longer be concealed. Looking at the world, there are probably not many people who can keep Shirahoshi. After all, the wrath of the world government is not so easy to deal with. What a coincidence. I am not afraid of those old things from world government at all. So rounding himself as the best person to protect Shirahoshi. Yes, well-founded and convincing. However, after listening to Lin Yan's reasonable explanation, Neptune's eyes suddenly became a little strange. He suddenly remembered that Lin Yan asked Shirahoshi to use his power to solve the crisis on the Fishman Island. Damn it. Could this guy be doing it on purpose? Seeing the smiling face of Lin Yan in front of him, Neptune couldn't help but murmur in his heart. As the king of the Fishman Island, naturally, he cannot be a fool. On the contrary, Neptune is a very reliable king. Listen to Lin Yan's righteous words at this time. Then think back to when Shirahoshi used the power of Poseidon. The more Neptune thought about it, the more he felt something was wrong. As a result, the look he looked at Lin Yan became increasingly weird. And to this, Lin Yan said, impossible. Absolutely impossible. I was helping other girls grow up. How could I have other agendas? The girl burst out with a protective heart and defended her hometown. No matter from which aspect, there is nothing wrong with it. Seeing Lin Yan's calm expression, Neptune was speechless. After a long time, he couldn't help but shake his head and smile bitterly. Well, if that's the case, then let's trouble Mr. Lin Yan. No trouble, no trouble. Lin Yan immediately smiled and shook his head. Of course he knew that Neptune must have seen something, but he was also confident that Neptune would agree in the end. After all, it was a fact that Shirahoshi was a Poseidon. No secret can be kept hidden forever. Even if there hadn't been this crisis on the Fishman Island, it might have been exposed at some point. Lin Yan got the news from Doflamingo in advance as proof. That being the case, Shirahoshi needs to find a backer after all. And when it comes to hugging someone's lap, who is more reliable than Lin Yan, the fifth emperor of the sea and a member of the Whitebeard pirates? So as far as facts go, Neptune just made his choice earlier. It's not like Lin Yan tricked him. Sir Lin Yan, although I agreed, if Shirahoshi doesn't agree, naturally it won't work. Seeing Lin Yan's smiling face, Neptune shook his head helplessly, and then said to Lin Yan. He is naturally the king of the Fishman Island. It is necessary to consider the safety and interests of the Fishman Island. But not before that. He is a father first. If Shirahoshi is unwilling to follow Lin Yan, Neptune will not force him under any circumstances, even though he knows that following Lin Yan is the best choice. Of course. Lin Yan nodded with a smile, without any surprise on his face. It would be better to say that if Neptune had not said this, Lin Yan's evaluation of him would have been much lower. As for whether Shirahoshi is willing to follow him, there is a saying that this is not simple. Innocent girls are the best to deceive. Well, I mean the best to convince. So the matter was decided happily. After a period of time, Neptune discussed with everyone the future defense issue of the Fishman Island, and it seemed that he planned to fundamentally solve this problem. Of course, it is said to be a discussion, but in fact most of the time it is just Jinbei giving advice. Lin Yan has no interest in this. Fortunately, this topic did not last long, and Jinbei and Neptune soon discussed the result. Immediately, Neptune looked at Lin Yan again. Master Lin Yan, I wonder how much you know about the 3 ancient weapons. Neptune asked Lin Yan. Regarding the 3 major weapons, it is an absolute secret in the entire world. Neptune can be sure that no more than 10 people know about it. I'm afraid only the highest levels of the world government are fully aware of this. But his intuition told Neptune that the Lin Yan in front of him must know something. Now it seems that Shirahoshi's identity as Poseidon cannot be hidden. So together, Neptune also became quite interested in the other 2 ancient weapons. Well, I understand a little bit. Faced with Neptune's question, Lin Yan's eyes flashed slightly, and after thinking about it, he didn't mean to hide anything. There is very little information on the 3 major weapons. But it's not like no one understands it at all. It goes without saying that Shirahoshi is Poseidon. Pluton is actually a battleship. As for what Uranus is, no one knows, not even the most basic information. However, according to Lin Yan's thinking, Uranus should probably be in the hands of celestial dragons. I see. After listening to Lin Yan's explanation, everyone nodded and looked at Lin Yan with strange eyes. It seems like Lin Yan knows a lot of secrets? But after thinking about it, everyone was relieved. This man is now the Emperor of the Sea. How can such a person be simple? After learning some things about the 3 major weapons from Lin Yan's mouth, Neptune's expression was also a little shocked. He pondered for a moment and asked Lin Yan again. Then Master Lin Yan, if you want to know. Neptune's idea is actually very simple. Shirahoshi is Poseidon in ancient weapon, the king of the sea kings, and it is Shirahoshi's destiny to shoulder this power and move forward. This is a fact that cannot be changed no matter what. As a qualified father, Neptune naturally became interested in the other 2 weapons. As for Neptune's question, Lin Yan just smiled lightly. If you want to understand it thoroughly, it's not impossible. Wouldn't it be better to ask that blank 100 years? As Lin Yan said these words, everyone's expressions changed. Neptune waved his hands repeatedly. No. That is a taboo that must not be touched. Even a king like Neptune looked frightened. A blank 100 years. That is the absolute opposite of world government. Any person or force who dares to study this matter will suffer the craziest attacks from the world government. Under such an offensive, almost no one will be spared. Neptune didn't want the Fishman Island to be destroyed. Curiosity, after all, is less important than life, right? Well, that's true. Seeing Neptune's fearful and horrified expression, Lin Yan smiled softly. Just looking at the expression on this guy's face. As if they realized something, everyone's hearts couldn't help but jump. Shouldn't. Are Lin Yan serious about what he said before? He actually wants to investigate the 100-year-old hidden secret about blank? After realizing this, the cold sweat on everyone's forehead began to flow down. Brother, seeking death is not like this. But as far as the facts are concerned, no one spoke out to refute Lin Yan. In fact, looking at Lin Yan's leisurely expression, his heart became a little hot. This matter is certainly extremely dangerous. But if it was the man in front of me, what if? This matter ends here, don't mention it again. In the end, everyone did not continue to discuss the topic of the blank 100 years. After all, as mentioned before, this is an absolute taboo. But no one clearly opposed Lin Yan's idea. After all, what if? Naturally, there is nothing to say about what happens next, because the Fishman Island has been damaged to a certain extent. In order to ensure that the territory belonging to the Whitebeard pirates is safe and sound, under Nipton's warm invitation, Lin Yan and others are also prepared to stay for a while. But not before that. There is one more thing that needs to be dealt with. Lin Yan stood up, said hello to everyone, and then walked leisurely towards the door. No one stopped me. It seemed that he had guessed what Lin Yan was going to do. Even Neptune had a default attitude, and at the same time on the other side. In a dark corner of Fishman Street, hateful, resentful whispers came from the darkness. Hody Jones dragged his mangled body, but the resentment on his face did not diminish at all. My plan failed. Even with the last resort, the Fishman Island was not destroyed. God knows how much he wanted to fight for his life at that time, but Hody Jones still retained his last sanity and found an opportunity to escape here. As the saying goes, if you keep the green hills, you won't have to worry about running out of firewood. My failure this time was entirely because of that terrifying man. If Lin Yan did not exist. Thinking of this, Hody Jones clenched his fists with great resentment. Next, I can only do the same as before, hiding quietly in the dark like a lion majesty, waiting for the next opportunity to launch a fatal blow. Hody Jones thought to himself. Even after experiencing a tragic failure, spending a lot of his life, and becoming a monster, this man has no intention of giving up. As said before, men like Hody Jones are monsters spawned from the darkness of the Fishmen Island, and will remain restless as long as they last. What Hody Jones didn't know was that, from the moment he appeared in Lin Yan's sight, he had no chance. In a sense, Lin Yan is quite a stingy person. So at a certain moment, Hody Jones suddenly heard a crisp sound in his ear. At the same time, sounds representing death and despair also sounded. It turns out that being in a place like this makes it really easy for me to find. Hody Jones's expression froze instantly. After all, this voice is very familiar to him. In an instant, he realized that this seemed to be his ending. Hody Jones paused for a moment, but his expression was surprisingly calm. Are you here to deal with me? Well, that's pretty much it. Lin Yan nodded very calmly. After all, unlike Shirahoshi, I am a rather stingy person. Besides, in the coming new era, there is no place for people like you. Lin Yan said this very calmly. There is no doubt that this sentence is a death sentence for Hody Jones. However, after hearing Lin Yan's words, Hody Jones didn't panic at all. He just didn't know what he thought of and suddenly smiled at Lin Yan. Sure enough, you are the one. Whoosh. Before Hody Jones could finish speaking, a cold light flashed instantly, splitting Hody Jones in half without any hindrance. There was still a hint of shock on Hody Jones's face, but more of it was his trademark ferocious smile. Showing the last expression left to this world, Hody Jones fell to the ground and soon lost his voice. If you die by this sword, it won't be considered an insult to you. Lin Yan snorted lightly. It wasn't like he didn't have any guesses about what Hody Jones was going to say in the end. But Lin Yan was not interested at all. Completely different from Shirahoshi's kind-hearted existence, Lin Yan's attitude towards enemies has always been concise and concise. Cut off the roots. As said before, the moment Hody Jones appeared in front of him as an enemy, he had no chance. Glancing at the body of Hody Jones, Lin Yan looked away with a calm expression. Well, let's clean up first, and then go to the hard-shell tower to find Shirahoshi. At the same time, Holy Land Marie Joy's, heart of the place. No one made a sound in the huge conference room, and the 5 elders' faces were extremely gloomy, like 5 black pots. In front of everyone, there is a piece of information that has just been transmitted. I'm so F***ked. Ever since that Hun Dan appeared, nothing good has happened in this sea. And this time, Poseidon, who is an ancient weapon, is involved. To be honest, after receiving this news, the 5 elders would spare no effort to gather strength to take action. Even if Poseidon cannot be recovered, this power must be nipped in the bud. But now, it really can't be done. Not to mention Poseidon's own strength, with that terrifying man by his side, even the 5 elders didn't dare to take action. It can only be awkward like this. If someone walked into the conference room at this time, they would be shocked by the situation in front of them. After all, the 5 elders are the supreme rulers of the world. Why do you have the same expression as your dead parents? Fortunately, no one had the chance to see this scene. After a long while, 5 elders, who was on crutches, slowly spoke. Everyone, what can you do now? Of course, there was an unspeakable silence in response to him. Method? There is a hammer solution. If there really was a way, we wouldn't be sitting here with shameless faces, right? Several large-scale attacks all failed. That man's strength is so terrifying. More importantly, this guy is not a human being. It's simply hard and soft. Seemingly knowing this, 5 elders, who was on crutches, did not continue speaking and just sighed softly. Then the next second, he said something that made the others' expressions suddenly change. You know, in recent times, that adult has become more and more dissatisfied with us. Hear what the other person is saying. Everyone present fell silent. It was as if he had anticipated the next scene. At the same time, they couldn't help but sigh again. After hearing this, the expressions of all the other 5 elders became extremely exciting. There is even a faint hint of fear. If other people saw this scene, their eyes would probably fall to the ground. Who were the 5 elders? That is the supreme ruler of the entire world government. However, looking at their current appearance, it seems that there is a so-called adult in the entire Holy Land Marie Joys. Even the 5 elders will be afraid? And as the 5 elders on crutches said this, the air in the conference room had become almost dead. The 5 elders fell silent. I don't know how long it took before 5 elders, who was on crutches, spoke again, but his tone was different from the previous discussion. This time, his tone was full of no doubt. So gentlemen, we must start taking action. Seconded. 2 flowers bloom, 1 on each side. Meanwhile, the Fishmen Island. Of course, Lin Yan has no idea that the 5 elders are already troubled by their own problems, and even if he knew, he wouldn't care. Maybe even laugh a few times to take pleasure in his misfortune. At this moment, Lin Yan was walking towards the hard shell tower with a leisurely expression. The crisis facing the Fishmen Island has passed. In order to prevent Shirahoshi from encountering danger, well, the main thing is to let Shirahoshi take away those scary sea kings. Neptune waved his hand, and Shirahoshi was not involved in anything that happened after that. And Lin Yan came to the hard shell tower at this time. I just came here to fool. Ah no, I meant to recruit Shirahoshi. There were no unnecessary guards along the way, and several huge sea kings could already be seen from a distance. Lin Yan walked over without much hesitation. Then should I say it was expected or something? Sure enough, I saw a quite interesting and harmonious picture. Shirahoshi folded his fishtail and sat on the stone, staring at the sea kings in front of him. Although there was no sound at all, but this picture looks unexpectedly harmonious. Most people may find it strange, but how powerful Lin Yan is, and it can be seen at a glance that Shirahoshi is using his Poseidon ability to talk to these sea kings. The almost invisible ripples that envelope the surroundings are the best proof of this. When Lin Yan got close to a certain level, the sea kings stopped their movements one after another, and the next second, they looked at Lin Yan fiercely. This is the intuition of a powerful creature. The human in front of me, whose size was not much different from mine, carried a deadly threat. Sea kings' sense of danger is much stronger than that of humans. With just one glance, they were deeply aware of Lin Yan's danger. The sea kings tightened their muscles one after another, as if they were facing a powerful enemy, and looked like they would launch an attack at any time. Lin Yan, you're here. Only Shirahoshi had a happy smile on his pretty face after seeing Lin Yan. For Shirahoshi, who has lacked friends since childhood, Lin Yan's existence is precious. Don't do this, everyone. He is my friend and will not hurt you. As if aware of the fearful mood of the sea kings, Shirahoshi said with a smile. At the same time, a ripple that was almost invisible to the naked eye spread around her. This is Shirahoshi's power as Poseidon, able to communicate with sea kings without any hindrance and command them. And these sea kings in front of me are definitely not good people. The aura on his body is many times stronger than that of ordinary sea kings, and he is definitely like an overlord in the deep sea. He is truly the king of the deep sea. He probably lived for who knows how many years. Even such a being can drive communication. It can only be said that Shirahoshi lives up to the reputation of Poseidon, and even the world government is afraid of it. After hearing Shirahoshi's assurance, the restlessness of the sea kings gradually subsided. They will not ignore their king's words, but even so, the sea kings looked at Lin Yan with still vigilance. After all, the human in front of them was so powerful that even they were a little afraid. Of course Lin Yan doesn't care much about this. Seeing Shirahoshi comforting these sea kings, Lin Yan didn't hesitate much and quickly stepped forward with a smile. How are you getting familiar with your abilities? Simple conversation is fine, but... Hearing Lin Yan ask this, a trace of embarrassment appeared on Shirahoshi's pretty face. They always call me queen and so on. To be honest, I'm very distressed now. Shirahoshi complained to Lin Yan with some dissatisfaction. Obviously he had some objections to the fact that these sea kings called themselves kings, but even after communicating for a long time, Shirahoshi could not make them change their minds. I am in distress at this time. Isn't this great? Seeing Shirahoshi's cute puffed-up cheeks, Lin Yan couldn't help but laugh a little. This was the first time he saw a girl who was not happy to be called queen. Not good at all. Well, Lin Yan, who are you helping? Hearing Lin Yan's dumbfounded answer, Shirahoshi immediately puffed up his cheeks and complained to Lin Yan in dissatisfaction. Of course I'm here to help you, Lin Yan answered without hesitation. After all, I am here to recruit Shirahoshi on board, so I naturally want to seize the opportunity to increase my favorability. Hearing what Lin Yan said, The dissatisfaction on Shirahoshi's pretty face immediately disappeared. He didn't even ask Lin Yan how he planned to help him. For girls, just getting Lin Yan's attitude is enough. It seems that even after a certain amount of growth, Princess Shirahoshi is still Princess Shirahoshi. By the way, Lin Yan, why did you come to me? Is there any problem with father? The mood was like the rain in March, it came and went quickly. Shirahoshi soon asked Lin Yan curiously. The remnants have almost been dealt with. Fortunately, the damage is not very serious. Lin Yan shrugged and said this, and then his tone paused very subtly. As for the reason why I came here to find you. Looking at the curious Shirahoshi in front of him, Lin Yan hesitated for a moment, but finally decided to speak out. After all, the Shirahoshi in front of him is too innocent. Using words or tapping from the side here may cause trouble. So Lin Yan just said what he had to say directly. Speaking of which, Shirahoshi, would you be interested in coming with me? Eh? It seemed that he didn't expect Lin Yan to say such a thing to him. Shirahoshi was stunned. Then after reacting, the girl's face suddenly turned blood red. Ah. That, isn't it a little too fast? We just met yesterday. Shirahoshi shrank back, his pretty face turned red, and he looked at Lin Yan shyly. Good chance. Lin Yan could tell at a glance that Shirahoshi was hesitant and seemed inclined to agree, so he immediately showed a hearty smile on his face. I think that's totally fine. Lin Yan said this righteously. There is a saying in my hometown that a close friend is worth thousands of casual acquaintances. It means that two people who understand each other are much more important than an ordinary relationship. Although we just met yesterday, I don't think it's a problem at all. So Shirahoshi, come with me. Lin Yan looked at Shirahoshi very eagerly and said. From the beginning, what he valued was not Shirahoshi's strength, and Poseidon's identity didn't matter to Lin Yan at all. Lin Yan simply likes this kind girl. My heart and my actions are as clear as a mirror. Everything you do is righteous, or speak human language. Lin Yan's old habit of recruiting people has started again. There is nothing we can do about this. After all, we all know it. Collecting stamps. It's addictive. Seeing that the talents who met his expectations have not yet boarded the ship, Lin Yan felt like ants crawling all over his body. This. Facing Lin Yan's extremely eager eyes, Shirahoshi was a little confused. Are people nowadays so direct? We just met one day and fast forward to confessing? I'm not ready at all. Shirahoshi's pretty face couldn't help but turn red, thinking this shyly. Otherwise, how about fast forwarding to marriage in the next step? What's the child's name? Shirahoshi's head began to turn into a ball of mush, and even in this moment, he almost had to think of a name for the child. In fact, it's not Shirahoshi's fault for misunderstanding. After all, there are some problems with Lin Yan's rhetoric. And it didn't say at the beginning that Shirahoshi was going to board his pirate ship. There is a saying, usually when a girl hears the words, follow me, 9 times out of 10 she will think of that direction, right? Even simple Shirahoshi is no exception. Have you never eaten pork or seen a pig running? Reasonable. Then, that. I need to think about it. Seeing Lin Yan looking straight at him, Shirahoshi was so shy that he almost fainted and could only shout in panic. She was in a complete mess right now. That's not the case, is it? Seeing Shirahoshi's panicked look, Lin Yan tilted his head in confusion, instinctively feeling that something was wrong with Shirahoshi's reaction. But after thinking about it, Lin Yan was relieved. You must know that the Shirahoshi in front of you has always been reclusive, just like a lady who never leaves the second gate. Suddenly I heard that I would go to sea with him and leave my hometown. It's natural to feel troubled. Lin Yan expressed complete understanding. After all, when a girl is going on a long trip, she has to sort out her mood and report to her family. It's normal that Shirahoshi didn't agree immediately. Thinking of this, Lin Yan chuckled and nodded. Of course there is no problem with this. We really need to talk to Neptune and the others about this matter. Lin Yan said this seriously. He didn't notice Shirahoshi's increasingly red face. Lin Yan touched his chin and pondered for a moment before speaking again. Okay. Let's stay here for about a week. Before leaving, Shirahoshi, just give me an answer. Is that okay? God knows how much effort it took to prevent myself from fainting from embarrassment. Shirahoshi finally nodded reluctantly. Well, if there is a week, inform your father and prepare for the wedding. It should be barely enough, right? Shirahoshi thought in a daze. Unaware that the two were chatting across servers, Lin Yan was relieved when Shirahoshi nodded in agreement. In order to give the girl some space to think carefully, Lin Yan didn't stay here for long. After chatting with Shirahoshi for a while, Lin Yan turned around and left. Naturally, there is nothing to say about what happened after that. The crisis on the Fishmen Island has been resolved. The matter regarding Poseidon is almost finished. In the next week at the Fishmen Island, in fact, to put it bluntly, I was just a bodyguard in name only, and there was no real work. Now Hody Jones is dead and Vanderdyken is captured. Nothing should happen. Thinking this in a happy mood, Lin Yan didn't hesitate much and quickly returned to the residence prepared by Nipton to rest. As the saying goes, it is human nature to be lazy and fish for fish. After a busy few days, Lin Yan also planned to relax a little. Of course. Just an hour later, Lin Yan almost wanted to strangle himself as he was about to fish. Of course, this is something for later, so I won't mention it here for the time being. For a long time after Lin Yan left, Shirahoshi sat quietly on the stone alone, not knowing what he was thinking in his little head. Recalling every moment since I met Lin Yan, Shirahoshi didn't feel the slightest bit disgusted. He was his first friend, the one who protected him and encouraged him to step out of the gloom and inherit his mother's legacy. Looking back, they are all full of sweet and touching memories. If you marry Lin Yan, it's okay. This is Shirahoshi's answer. Put it in more down-to-earth terms, at least it can be considered as an AO or above. After realizing this, the girl's face turned slightly red again, and she looked around cautiously, as if she was afraid that someone would find out what she was thinking. After realizing a little bit about his mood, Shirahoshi soon became unable to sit still. Without much hesitation, he swam directly towards the palace of the Fishmen Island. At this time, Neptune was sitting on the throne holding documents and dealing with the aftermath. At a certain moment, as if he noticed something, Neptune raised his head, and a trace of kindness appeared on his face unconsciously. Shirahoshi, what do you want to see me for? Hey, what's wrong with you? Neptune looked at Shirahoshi kindly, then quickly realized something was wrong. Why is your face so red? For some reason, Neptune suddenly had a bad feeling. Then sure enough, Shirahoshi just blushed. Father, I seem to be getting married. Neptune. Confuse, shock. Incredible, bristle, full of killing intent. In just a few seconds, Neptune's expression changed like a dyeing workshop, which not only made people marvel at how a fishman's expressions could be so rich. The face-changing skills are so superb. Then the next second. Who is it? Who is it? Who dares to lie to my Neptune daughter? I will never let that bitch go today. Neptune was furious. This is simply unreasonable. How could you do it? Looking at the shy Shirahoshi in front of him, Neptune felt that his sanity was about to evaporate, and he wanted to immediately drag out the guy who deceived Shirahoshi and beat him up. Dead. Government affairs? After all, you still have to worry about government affairs. Lousy is going to chop him up now. Neptune's face turned red, looking like a volcano about to erupt. One can imagine how angry he was. But in front of his beloved daughter, Neptune still managed to restrain his voice and asked in a soft voice. Shirahoshi, what is going on? Which disciple? Well, which young Nyen, talent, Jun, came to your place to propose marriage? He almost spilled the beans, but Neptune quickly corrected himself. But he still unconsciously emphasized the words, young talent. Good. Very good. Yes. I like it very much. Fortunately, Shirahoshi, who was shy, didn't realize that his father's tone was quite wrong, and instead shrank back in embarrassment. This made Neptune even more angry, not a son of man. Holding back the anger that was about to burn away his sanity, Neptune reluctantly suppressed his emotions and prepared to wait for Shirahoshi to say the guy's name. Then he immediately came to kill him, the kind that even Uranus Lousy can't stop. If you were an ordinary person, you would probably have noticed something was wrong a long time ago, right? However, Shirahoshi was too naive. He was still shy at this time and could not hear the anger in his father's voice. On the contrary, when facing Neptune's inquiry, he poured oil on his face with a natural expression. Father, after careful consideration, I am willing. Boom. Shuzzy suffers death. Neptune exploded in an instant, and the barely pretended expression on his face was completely unbearable, and he almost gritted his teeth and asked Shirahoshi. Who is it? Well, that's Lin Yan. Lin Yan proposed to me just now. Seeing Nipton's ferocious expression, even Shirahoshi noticed something was wrong, but the girl still said it honestly. Neptune was stunned for a moment. How could it be Lin Yan? Neptune instinctively wanted to shake his head. After all, he saw Lin Yan's character and strength. He shouldn't be someone who would do such a thing. But as we all know, Neptune carefully recalled all Lin Yan's actions after entering the Fishman Island, and then he seemed to realize something and slapped his thigh suddenly. So that's it. Is this your real purpose? You made a mistake. You made a mistake. Neptune was heartbroken. I just said what's weird. No wonder you are the fifth emperor of the sea, a man who dominates almost all the world, but you care so much about the Fishman Island that you even saved the Fishman Island from fire and water twice. It turns out that the drunkard is not interested in drinking. What? The Fishman Island is the territory of the Whitebeard pirates, it's all a cover. The real purpose turns out to be to pick up Shirahoshi. So that's it, that makes total sense. Neptune's logic forms an impeccable closed loop. But even so, can't forgive either. Everyone has the same code. It is true that Lin Yan is the hero of the Fishman Island, but how long did it take to meet Shirahoshi? Fast forward to the proposal. This is absolutely intolerable. You two should at least get along for a while. Pooh. I turned off the lights. Thinking about it, Neptune stood up in a flash, with a gloomy expression on his face, making it impossible to tell whether he was happy or angry. Neptune looked at Shirahoshi in front of him with a sullen expression. Let's go with me to see Lin Yan. The tone left no room for doubt. Shirahoshi said he had no idea what happened, but seeing that his father seemed very angry, he could only nod his head honestly. I just don't know if Neptune realizes it. His current mood has changed from the previous rage to pure anger. What this means? Hard to say. Neptune immediately dropped his unfinished work and took Shirahoshi out of the palace. And at the same time on the other side, Lin Yan was eating hot pot, singing, and fishing freely, completely unaware that a huge black pot was about to fall from the sky. People are sitting at home, and pots come from heaven. That's probably what I'm talking about. Call. At this moment, Lin Yan was lying on the rocking chair with a comfortable look on his face. There was no one around him, and he looked like he was enjoying himself very much. Evening breeze beer crayfish, this is life. Although there is neither crayfish nor beer, and there is no night breeze, I only have a cold drink on hand, a specialty of the Fishman Island. But it's not a big problem. Lin Yan, who was lying on the rocking chair, looked unusually relaxed. However, this leisure is destined not to last long. At a certain moment, Lin Yan suddenly frowned without warning, and then his whole figure flashed and left the chair in an instant. Boom. The next second, the chair he had just been lying on turned into pieces under the iron fist. Looking at the two people who broke in before him, Lin Yan frowned subtly. What are you doing? Lin Yan asked, looking at Neptune. After all, to be honest, I have no grudge against you, right? And what the hell is that angry look on your face? Lin Yan said that Monk Jong-er was confused and his head was full of question marks. Looking at Lin Yan's confused look, Neptune was immediately laughed out of anger. You're still asking me what I'm doing. That's not what you said when you proposed to Shirahoshi before. Neptune looked at Lin Yan angrily. Can't you just wait a little longer? You've only known each other for a day. How could you do this? Lin Yan. I'm not. I don't. How can you accuse someone of innocence out of thin air? I'm warning you. You can take this medicine randomly, but you can't talk nonsense. Listening to Neptune's unreasonable accusation, Lin Yan's face darkened instantly. Don't be kidding me. How could I confess my love to Shirahoshi? It's impossible. Stop it. However, Neptune was obviously angrier than Lin Yan. Do you dare to do it or not? When did you become like this? Don't argue with me here. Shirahoshi told me everything just now. I have to kill you today. Neptune said to Lin Yan with great anger. Shirahoshi? After hearing this, Lin Yan frowned in confusion. I confessed my love to Shirahoshi? When did this happen? I do not know how. The more he listened to Neptune's words, the more Lin Yan felt that something was not right, and his intuition told him that there must be some huge misunderstanding here. No, I have to quibble. No, I have to explain. Lin Yan made a decision immediately and looked at Shirahoshi with gentle eyes. Shirahoshi, when did I confess my love to you? Think about it carefully, did you misunderstand something? But Lin Yan, you told me before. It's useless to talk anymore. Die. Hearing Lin Yan's explanation, Shirahoshi was stunned for a moment, and was about to explain, but Neptune had already rushed forward. I'll charge like a macho man. Shuzzy suffers death. Okay. I can't ask any more questions now. Seeing Neptune looking like he was fighting for his life, Lin Yan sighed helplessly, slowly stretched out a hand, and easily blocked Neptune's iron fist. I said, how about calming down a little bit? What I'm saying is there a possibility that things may not be what you think? King? After catching Neptune's fist, Lin Yan originally planned to explain. At least Neptune, the daughter-in-law, could calm down a little. As a result, Neptune kicked him over in the next second. And the target. Hey, I have such a bad temper. Lin Yan was also angry. Good guy. If the tiger doesn't show off its power, you think I'm Hello Kitty, right? As the saying goes, even a clay figure has 3 points of fire, let alone Lin Yan. What nonsense is this? I was lying on the rocking chair, eating hot pot and singing songs, but I was suddenly attacked. I couldn't explain it clearly? You want to fight, right? Come on, let's hurt each other. Boom. Soon after, Lin Yan punched Neptune on the nose, causing the opponent to stagger. Then decisively fast forward to the fierce men fighting each other. Of course, no matter what Lin Yan said, he would not directly use all his strength, so in fact, the two people were just fighting each other. With Neptune's physical fitness as a royal, he could barely withstand Lin Yan, who let the sea go. The two people just started fighting as if no one was watching. To be precise, Lin Yan was simply beating Neptune. There is nothing we can do about this. Lin Yan, who possesses infinite martial arts, has reached incredible heights in combat skills. Even if high rang is released, the two are equally powerful. Neptune is far from a match. Shirahoshi looked at the scene in front of him with a shocked expression, and his whole body was stunned. No, didn't you agree to propose marriage? Why does this happen? Father was beaten so badly. Shirahoshi had no idea how to solve the current situation, so he could only stand there helplessly, staring blankly at the scene in front of him. The crowd gathered around to watch his father being blasted. What a world-famous painting. Fortunately, this situation did not last long. Soon, two people walked in with puzzled faces. It was Fisher Tiger and Jinbei who directed the restoration nearby. The two of them are also confused now. Originally thinking that the crisis was over, the two of them were orderly directing the repair work not far away, but they found someone fighting. Is this okay? Worried about whether they were the remnants of Hody Jones' previous gang, the two immediately put down their work and rushed over. Both men were stunned when they saw the huge Shirahoshi. Hello Princess Shirahoshi, may I ask where this is, my super? Fisher Tiger subconsciously greeted Shirahoshi and then suddenly froze. Snap. Jinbei on the other side is not much better. After seeing the scene clearly, Jinbei was so shocked that his hands shook and his beloved pipe fell to the ground. And I was still unaware of it. I wonder what I saw. His Majesty the King is being pushed to the ground and beaten violently by Captain Lin. Why on earth did this damn person become such a ghost? The two people stayed where they were and slowly typed out a series of question marks. Wasn't this good before? Jinbei's face was a little dull, and he stayed there for a long time. Then he reached out and poked Fisher Tiger next to him with a stiff face. Brother Tiger, who are we helping? You ask lousy who? Fisher Tiger was also confused for a while. On one side was his own captain, and on the other was the king of the Fishmen Island. Neither side seemed to be right. How about pulling away first? Okay. It was not a problem to just watch the fight continue like this. The two quickly reached a consensus and walked towards Lin Yan and Neptune. Then the next second, their movements froze. Can you please let someone explain? No. Not in this life. You can't explain your proposal to Shirahoshi under any circumstances. Lousy doesn't have it. Don't you dare do it. You damn meow. I've tolerated you for a long time. Fisher Tiger. Jinbei. The atmosphere suddenly became strangely silent, and the two people who had originally planned to help suddenly stopped talking. This is crazy. Isn't the amount of information a bit overwhelming? Let me explain it later. The two looked at each other without saying anything, but they retreated in unison. Can't afford to offend. Farewell. All the way back to the threshold with Fisher Tiger, the two grown men squatted side by side on the threshold, with indescribably complicated expressions on their faces. Jinbei's face was stiff. After thinking for a while, he picked up the pipe he had just dropped on the ground, and then took out the flint from his pocket. Squatting side by side with Fisher Tiger on the threshold not far away, Jinbei lit his pipe with trembling hands. Call. Then let out a long breath. Under the smoke, Jinbei's face actually looked a bit weathered. The man reached out and poked the elder brother next to him, whose expression was also vicissitudes of life. Pass the pipe over. Brother Tiger, would you like some? Hand lighting cigarette. But my heart is trembling. Fisher Tiger and Jinbei squatted bleakly on the threshold, changing the pipes in their hands, with an indescribable look of vicissitudes of life on their faces. As everyone knows, the smoke lingering in the mouth is the story of a man. Or speak human language. Who dares to take care of this matter? I didn't see anything, I didn't know anything. From the few words exchanged between Lin Yan and Neptune when they were fighting each other, the two of them clearly realized one thing. In this matter, whoever cares will die. A dead Taoist friend is not a poor Taoist. So the two of them decisively gave up the idea of stepping forward to help, and instead gathered around to watch, pretending to be nothing. Fortunately, this situation did not seem to last long. About half an hour later. I don't know whether it was because Lin Yan was relieved or because Neptune couldn't bear it any longer. The two of them stopped and sat down on the ground like Fisher Tiger and Jinbei. Hiss. You kid is so ruthless. Neptune bared his teeth. His face was almost swollen into a pig's head, and his body was covered in large and small bruises. Of course, it's just a superficial injury. Lin Yan started very measuredly. But if someone sees him like this, Neptune's majesty as a king will almost be shattered into a QR code, which is impossible to put together. Calm down now? Lin Yan asked, rolling his eyes. So be it. Neptune snorted and waved Shirahoshi over. Shirahoshi, please repeat carefully, what did Master Lin Yan say to you before? In fact, even now, Neptune has realized that there might be some misunderstanding. After all, looking at Lin Yan, he really doesn't look like that anxious guy. So after receiving a severe beating, well, after a friendly exchange, Neptune also regained a lot of sanity. That's why I'm asking this question now. Aha. Shirahoshi immediately nodded heavily. Then he suppressed his shyness and seriously said what Lin Yan told him before. After Neptune listened, he couldn't help but fell into a long silence. For a moment, Neptune suddenly looked at Jinbei who was squatting not far away. Jinbei. Give me some too. Jinbei quickly brought the pipe. Neptune added some more tobacco and blew out a long stream of smoke. The expression on his face was full of vicissitudes of life. As said before, the smoke lingering in his mouth is the story of a man. What a piece of shit. Neptune is so embarrassed that he wants to die. What an extremely embarrassing mistake. Logically speaking, if there was a crack in the ground now, he would dive into it without hesitation, but due to Shirahoshi's presence, Neptune would not be able to destroy his majesty as a father. The so-called man. You have to swallow it even if your teeth are broken. Okay, it seems that the misunderstanding has been resolved now. Lin Yan was also kind-hearted and did not expose Neptune's disguise. He just smiled and shook his head. After all, he was beaten severely. Well, give me some face. Thinking about it, Lin Yan naturally changed the topic and looked at Shirahoshi seriously. Shirahoshi, you misunderstood before. I only meant to invite you to join our Whitebeard pirates. I didn't mean anything else. Of course, the inappropriate wording is my problem. Hey, why is this like this? When Shirahoshi heard this, he suddenly let out a disappointed sound. Just plain disappointed. She thought Lin Yan was really serious about proposing to her, but turned out he was just joining his pirate group? To be honest, if it is an ordinary girl, at this time, he should also start looking for cracks in the ground like Neptune on the side. However, simple Shirahoshi has no idea about this. Naturally, there is no embarrassment. That's it. The world where only Neptune was embarrassed enough to pick his toes is complete. Shirahoshi was disappointed for a while. Shirahoshi's mood came and went quickly. Soon he looked at Lin Yan curiously and asked. By the way, Lin Yan, why did you fight with your father before? Cough 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 cough. Neptune on the other side immediately coughed. Please don't mention it. Please let me go. Even Lin Yan looked away subtly. That's because I'm not communicating with my fists. Well, that's right, Shirahoshi, don't worry. Eh? But father is obviously just getting beaten. Cough 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 cough. Don't mention this matter again. Oh. Shirahoshi responded with a vague understanding. The atmosphere in the venue became a little silent for a while. After a while, maybe to get rid of this damn topic, Neptune suddenly looked at Shirahoshi with great seriousness and spoke. Then Shirahoshi, have you decided to go to sea with Master Lin Yan? Neptune asked, looking at his daughter very seriously. If it was before, faced with such a thing, Neptune would not agree to it under any circumstances. After the death of his wife, the existence of several children has become the last comfort in his heart, and he can no longer bear the blow of losing his relatives again. But before seeing Shirahoshi's growth, and considering that Lin Yan is around, Neptune's attitude has now relaxed a lot. Of course, all this is based on Shirahoshi's own willingness. Facing Neptune's extremely serious inquiry, even a simple person like Shirahoshi realized the importance of this matter and did not give an answer immediately. Instead, he thought about it seriously. A few dozen seconds passed. The girl showed a gentle smile on her pretty face. I want to see the outside world and fulfill my mother's wish. For a moment, Neptune's face looked a little relieved. Even to this day, he still cannot fully understand what kind of path his beloved wife and Fisher Tiger were pursuing. Like Jinbei, he is merely the heir to their will. But then I saw Shirahoshi's firm yet gentle smile. Being a father, but he couldn't help but be proud of his daughter. So that's it, I know. It's really hard for women to stay in college, so now that we've decided, let's go see the outside world with Master Lin Yan. Neptune reached out and touched Shirahoshi's head. As said before, he still didn't fully understand that great dream. But Shirahoshi's smile at this moment is undoubtedly a more intuitive path to the sun. You might as well follow Lin Yan to find the light. This man who can make Fisher Tiger follow him sincerely is definitely worth it. Neptune was so convinced. So the matter was settled happily. With Shirahoshi's agreement, Lin Yan's purpose of coming to the Fishmen Island this time can be regarded as perfectly accomplished. Naturally, there is nothing to say about what will happen in the next period of time. According to the previously agreed plan, the group planned to stay at the Fishmen Island for about a week, and then set off to leave after the palace was repaired and there were no remaining problems. This day, as usual, Lin Yan was lying on the rocking chair in the yard while admiring the dome of the Fishmen Island and drinking the special cold drink on hand. The past few days have been uneventful, as long as it's not at the center of the incident. The Fishmen Island is indeed a good place for leisure and vacation. The scenery is amazing and very quiet. Lin Yan thought this happily. And as we all know, generally speaking, when there are no accidents, accidents will come. At a certain moment, Lin Yan's eyes moved slightly, and like lightning, he stretched out his palms and steadily caught something that was flying towards him. Not even bothering to move, because there is absolutely no killing intent in this thing. Even if you leave it alone or don't react, this thing will just be firmly inserted on the table. The other party is not the enemy. I came here specially to give you this thing. Realizing this, Lin Yan didn't bother to explore or pursue. Instead, he narrowed his eyes and looked at the object in his hand with interest. This is a sword-shaped ornament. It's hard to tell what material it was made of, but there was a note tied to the end of the hilt. Okay. There is a sense of flying arrows passing through the book. There was no trace of nervousness on his face. Lin Yan opened the note and read it with interest, and a trace of amusement could not help but appear on his face. This is really interesting. Indeed, the time should be almost there. The corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl up slightly. Lin Yan stood up from the rocking chair, then his figure flashed and disappeared from the place without warning. About 5 minutes later, the meeting hall of the Fishmen Island Palace. Brother Lin, you mean you have to go to the appointment alone? Fisher Tiger looked at Lin Yan in disbelief and asked. After all, isn't this decision a bit too hasty? After all, that was Mahawk's battle post. Yes, it is time to fulfill the agreement made by Lin Yan and Mahawk. In other words, this time, it's a battle for the world's greatest swordsman. This is exactly what Fisher Tiger wondered about. After all, even with my toes, I can imagine what kind of grand event it will be like. Going to an appointment alone like this is a little bit. In fact, not only Fisher Tiger, but also several other people could not help but frown. However, Lin Yan naturally has his own reasons for saying this. Let me tell you, have you all forgotten your current mission? Lin Yan said helplessly to his crew. Our mission now is to guard the Fishmen Island, not from those small fish and shrimps, but, you should understand, right? Hearing this, everyone's expressions suddenly became solemn. Master Lin Yan, what do you mean? Even Neptune looked shocked and couldn't help but ask. In response, Lin Yan just smiled and shook his head. I only know that if I were a decision maker in world government, I would not let this opportunity pass me by. There is one thing to say, indeed. Now the Fishman Island has become the center of the whole incident, and if nothing else, almost everything that needs to be known about Poseidon here is known. Especially those 5 old guys. Then it became very obvious. If Lin Yan were the 5 elders, then when the competition for the world's greatest swordsman begins, he would definitely attack the Fishman Island without hesitation. Therefore, sufficient combat power needs to be left here. And to put it bluntly, it may not be safe over there. After all, Lin Yan knew it very well. The existence of Poseidon is a thorn in the side of the world government, and they will not allow Shirahoshi to grow up no matter what. So action will definitely be taken. Worst outcome. Not only the people staying at the Fishman Island, but also myself going to the appointment will probably face powerful enemies. How about we take Sister Shirahoshi with us? Hancock said reluctantly, but Lin Yan just shook his head slightly. No, that would make the target bigger, and it's safer for Shirahoshi to stay at the Fishman Island now. This is her home court. You know, Shirahoshi is Poseidon, and now it has begun to awaken. The huge Fishman Island is the most suitable battlefield for Shirahoshi. I will try my best. Although he didn't fully understand what everyone was talking about, Shirahoshi couldn't help but speak out when Lin Yan mentioned him. Cute and cute, no brains. Seeing Shirahoshi's cute look, everyone had a relieved smile on their faces. In that case, I won't say much more. Master Lin Yan, I wish you good luck in martial arts. Seeing that things have almost been decided, Neptune did not hesitate and smiled at Lin Yan. Fisher Tiger and Jinbei are both strong, plus 3 girls who don't know their depth, and Shirahoshi, who is the last trump card. There is no need to worry too much about the safety of the Fishman Island. As for Lin Yan, it's even more of a joke. The man in front of me is the 5th Emperor of the Sea. The strength is incredible. How could there be any threat? So in the end, except for Hancock who seemed a little disappointed when he saw that he could no longer be with Lin Yan, everyone else expressed that they were emotionally stable. It is natural for crew members to trust their captain. Then things became very simple after that. Lin Yan continued to chat with everyone for a while, and then left the Fishman Island directly. It is worth mentioning that Lin Yan left his boat here and only asked Neptune to borrow a small boat temporarily when traveling. Anyway, the destination is pretty clear. Even without Ain's guidance, he can easily find his destination. The boat is more convenient. With Lin Yan's strong strength, he is naturally not afraid of the wind and waves on the sea. The rest of the journey can be said to be uneventful. It took about 5 days for Lin Yan to take a boat to the destination of the decisive battle. Looking at this lively island in front of me, Lin Yan couldn't help but smile. I know how to choose a place. Seeing this scene in front of him, even Lin Yan couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth slightly. As said before, this is an isolated island. But at the same time, it is a very lively island. The reason why I say this is because the isolated island in front of me is already densely packed with people, and the crowding level is probably no less than that of an ordinary big city. Almost without exception, these people are swordsmen. Many people simply found a few wooden boards to make simple houses on the isolated island, and then lived there. It's obvious. They all came here specifically for the decisive battle that followed. After all, the battle between the world's greatest swordsmen. As a swordsman, who doesn't want to see it? It is completely understandable that there are so many powerful swordsmen gathered here. Of course, if it was just like this, it wouldn't be called lively. Only swordsmen. But he couldn't bear the lively scene in front of him. There is a saying that goes like this: where there is a need, there is a market, and where there are people, there is a world. Under Lin Yan's somewhat surprised gaze, in addition to the temporary residences built by the swordsmen for themselves, a large commercial street has actually been formed on the beach of this desert island. And business is extremely booming. Food, clothing, and even more extreme, there are people selling building materials. And the business is very good, and the reason is very simple, because there are a steady stream of swordsmen coming here, and those who dare to be present in person are naturally not weak. Or in other words, there is no shortage of money in these people's pockets. Everyone is a potential customer. All I can say is that he is a shrewd businessman. Even Lin Yan couldn't help laughing when he saw the scene in front of him. However, Lin Yan didn't mean to meddle in other people's business. He just tightened the hood on his head and then docked the boat at the port. That's right, Lin Yan is hiding his identity again. It's just that unlike the powerful ability of the Wuxiang appearance, Lin Yan is only wearing a very ordinary hood at this moment. It's not that I'm afraid of enemies who may be hiding in the dark. But as one of the participants in this decisive battle, if Lin Yan appeared on the island openly, he would be annoyed to death. It's probably something that's easy to imagine. Today, I am not only the 5th Emperor of the Sea, but also a swordsman powerful enough to fight Hawkeye. How could these swordsmen who were so addicted to swords miss the opportunity to spar with me? Who knows how many swordsmen there are here? Lin Yan said that he was not in the mood to fight one by one. In view of this, it was better to settle it once and for all. Well. Anyway, let's go eat something first. Standing alone on the port, Lin Yan looked around, and then quickly decided on the itinerary for the next few days. As said before, sailing on the sea is actually a rather boring thing. Besides the sea, the only thing he likes is the sea. Moreover, Lin Yan only took a small boat to travel this time. If I didn't have the space to carry it with me, I'm afraid even 3 meals a day would be tisk. It's okay not to mention this. Having just arrived at your destination, the most important thing is to treat yourself. Reasonable. Thinking about it, Lin Yan raised his feet and prepared to walk towards the nearest food stall. However, Lin Yan had just taken a step when he suddenly felt a breeze coming from not far behind him. Where did the fairy come from? Almost in an instant, Lin Yan's eyes suddenly froze, and he was not noticed until he was so close. Although there are reasons for his laxity, his ability to achieve this level is probably quite impressive. This is no longer an ordinary enemy, must hit hard. I'll just throw an ordinary straight punch. Hey! Don't be so exaggerated, right? I thought we were already friends. Do you want to be so cruel? Lin Yan reluctantly took back the fist that almost hit the man's face. Looking at the red-haired man smiling heartily in front of him, his tone seemed a little helpless. Why are you here? Forget it, it would be weird if you weren't here. The person coming is not someone else. It's Shanks, the redhead I haven't seen in a while. No wonder he didn't notice the movement until he started to act. If it was Shanks who was also a member of the 4 emperors, it would make sense. Don't say that, it makes me look like a homeless person. Regarding Lin Yan's somewhat disgusted tone, Shanks decisively used his traditional skills to ignore it beautifully, and then put his hand on Lin Yan's shoulder in a familiar manner. Let's go. I've been waiting for you here for a long time. Go have a drink. Shanks smiled at Lin Yan. In response, Lin Yan just rolled his eyes, but had no intention of rejecting Shanks. After all, this was 4 emperors' invitation to drink. If you don't drink it, you won't drink it. With this thought in mind, Lin Yan followed Shanks, and soon the two came to a nearby tavern. Actually, it's a tavern. To put it bluntly, it is just a small venue built with simple wooden boards and some tables and chairs. It can be regarded as a food stall at best. But the wine and food are enough. Speaking of which, I didn't expect you to arrive earlier than that guy Mahawk. Shanks took a swig of ale, let out a hearty cry, and then asked Lin Yan with interest. Well, I have my own reasons here. Lin Yan shrugged noncommittally. Although he is a relatively punctual person, he is not interested in arriving many days early and waiting for others. The reason why he came a few days early is just to observe the situation. You can guess it. It's better to say that those people can't hide it from anyone. Shanks was not surprised by Lin Yan's answer. The Emperor of the Sea is not just talk. I don't know if he thought of something interesting, but a sneer suddenly appeared on Shanks' cheerful face. I think everyone with a certain level of strength on this island should have discovered those people hiding in the dark. Tisk tisk. I still haven't mastered my kung fu. Shanks' smile was full of sarcasm. For experts of their level, it is impossible to hide the opponent's actions. Even among the swordsmen gathered on the island, many of them may have noticed this. With that said, Shanks filled himself a glass again, and then asked Lin Yan with interest. Tell me, what's the trouble this time? Shanks asked Lin Yan with great interest. It seems that there is no appearance of being exposed at all. But Lin Yan is almost used to his personality. For Shanks, there's nothing a hearty smile can't fix. If so, be more cheerful. If it doesn't work, then give me some face. In fact, Lin Yan doesn't have much dislike for Shanks's bold and unrestrained character, but rather appreciates it. Shanks is a traveler. Until the end of his life he yearned for adventure and the sea. A person with such a personality may not be a good husband or father, but he will undoubtedly be a good friend. Of course, the premise is to get the sincere approval of Shanks himself. It's not something worth hiding anyway. Lin Yan thought for a while and said nonchalantly. It's nothing, it's just that I'm a part of what happened in the Fishman Island recently. I guess the few above are a little restless, so there's nothing to worry about. Tisk. I think so too. Not surprised by Lin Yan's answer, Shanks smacked his lips. Lin Yan said he was too lazy to pay attention to him. You must know that the Shanks in front of you are 4 emperors. Since they have all come here in person, it means that Shanks already knows the specific reason, so as the mediator of the major forces, he will come here in person. He also deliberately waited for himself at the port. Even if he doesn't know everything, I must know a lot about it. Lin Yan said that he was too lazy to talk nonsense with Shanks, and raised his eyes to look at the man in front of him who was smiling brightly. That's all you want to say? Facing Shanks in front of him, Lin Yan chose to go straight to the point. Tisk. So that's the bad thing about you. I'm starting to wonder if it was a mistake to be your friend. Shanks smacked his lips in dissatisfaction. However, seeing Lin Yan's bad attitude that he wanted to talk but not get out, Shanks continued to talk helplessly. All in all, I don't recommend that you come here, but you've already come here, so there's no point in talking about it now. Shanks shook his head seriously. Immediately, the expression on his face became a little serious. The things they prepared this time are not simple at all. Even I didn't get much information. Shanks showed a very rare solemn expression. To be able to make this man who has always been smiling heartily show such an expression, one can imagine how amazing the things world government has prepared this time are. Even Lin Yan couldn't help but be interested. One of their trump cards? As he said this, Lin Yan pointed to the sky very vaguely. It is self-evident who he refers to. I guess so. Shanks nodded solemnly. Anyway, pay more attention to your surroundings when you are sparring with that Mahawk guy. If I guess correctly, these guys who are easy to spot now should be all fakes. This is no problem. Lin Yan smiled and nodded, as if he didn't care much. Shanks looked at Lin Yan's too bland expression in surprise. No, are you not worried at all? Shanks asked Lin Yan. Faced with this problem, Lin Yan just spread his hands and threw the question back to Shanks without hesitation. If you were sitting across from me now, would you be afraid? Shanks instantly misfired. Then a very hearty smile couldn't help but appear on his face. Well said. Of course I can't do it either. Whether it is Lin Yan across from him or himself, he is the emperor of this sea, a presence that rules the world. How could such a person be afraid? It's nothing more than soldiers coming to cover up the water and earth. Scared. Even frowning is not a good man. Looking at Lin Yan, whose expression was full of calmness and even a hint of disdain, Shanks suddenly understood why he regarded Lin Yan as a friend. In a sense, they are the same type of people. In other words, any existence that can dominate this sea. All of them have qualities that are difficult for ordinary people to understand. This is true for myself. The same is naturally true for Lin Yan in front of him. No need to talk nonsense then. Just drink and that's it. If there is wine today, you will get drunk now. If you die, you will die in the sky. 10,000 people will die 10,000 years. This is the way a pirate should live in a free and unrestrained way. For the next period of time, the two of them seemed to have some inexplicable tacit understanding. No one continued to talk nonsense, but just chatted. Then the wine on the table was consumed quickly. When you meet a close friend, 1,000 cups are too little, that's what the saying goes. It wasn't until about 2 hours later that the two of them were slightly satisfied and ready to get up and leave. At this moment, the people around them looked at the two people. It was already like looking at two monsters. No. Is it so drinkable? Moreover, the magnanimity of the two of them made it obvious at first glance that they were no ordinary people. Maybe they were great figures on the sea. The appearance can be concealed, but the demeanor cannot be deceived. Immediately, many people secretly guessed the identities of the two people. Until Lin Yan and Shanks walked out of the tavern and walked away, their thinking continued. Until about 10 minutes passed. Only one person suddenly slapped his thigh. I'm super. I just said that he looks familiar. That person has red hair. Grandma has been living in seclusion for so long that she almost didn't even remember the wanted order. What? When the people around him heard this, their expressions suddenly changed, and then they looked at each other. If that person really has red hair, as the emperor of the sea, who is qualified to drink face to face with him, and is he still a normal human body? I'm afraid there is only one person in the world. Only the newly promoted 5th emperor of the sea. Chow, chase. Climb away. I'll be the first to challenge. Why? It should be me first. It was only then that everyone in the tavern barely reacted, and each one rushed toward the door. They don't really care whether he is the emperor of the sea or not. But an extremely powerful swordsman, comparable to Mahawk, may be more attractive to this group of people than 100 naked beauties. Everyone wants to challenge Lin Yan face to face. Even if they know that they will definitely lose, if they can learn something from the opponent's swordsmanship, they will still make a lot of money. In fact, apart from watching the battle, at least 4/5 of the swordsmen on the island have such thoughts in their hearts. The so-called swordsman is indeed like this. To put it nicely, well, should we call Chao Wen Dao Shi to die? A group of people could be said to have rushed out. However, it wasn't until this moment that they reacted and chased away. How could they see half a human figure? Not to mention that the strength of the two of them is far beyond what they know. Even if they are two ordinary people, they should be gone in 10 minutes. Regardless of how many swordsmen were sad because of missed opportunities, at this moment, Lin Yan had finished chatting with Shanks and started to find a place for himself. That's right, find a place to live. Speaking of which, this is really the first time for a young girl to get on a sedan chair. After all, as mentioned before, this place was just an inconspicuous island before. The reason why so many people gathered, it was entirely because of his fight with Mihawk. The battle for the world's greatest swordsman. Of course the infrastructure and hotels do not exist. Otherwise, why would there be many powerful swordsmen still living in houses with drafts on all sides? I guess that's Mihawk's original intention in choosing this place. They also planned to wait until the time came for the two of them to show up to compete at the same time, and then go back to their respective homes after deciding the winner, so they didn't think about it at all. Moreover, with the strength of the two of them, the destructive power of a real fight would be too shocking, so it would be inappropriate to choose an inhabited place. It's both emotional and logical, so I can't blame Mihawk. I'm afraid he didn't expect that he would come a few days early. So in view of this, Lin Yan could only happily put this account on the head of world government, and prepare to have a good deal with celestial dragons next time. Because there is a place to sell materials in the market itself. It seemed very simple to build a house. Without much effort, there was another very simple wooden house on the isolated island. The comfort level is certainly non-existent, a break is enough. Fortunately, Lin Yan is not a very picky person, so he just has to work hard without any mental barriers. And there are more important things to solve right now than this. It's a guise. Let's test it out a little bit. Lin Yan narrowed his eyes slightly. He let go of his senses and looked at the island under his feet. As Shanks said before, just by scanning at random, you can notice a few very strange smells in the crowd. These people are not swordsmen or businessmen, they just pretend to live here like others, and their strength is also uneven. And under Lin Yan's extremely powerful observation haki, you can also notice that whenever these strange guys pass by, they always communicate with each other in a vague way. It may be difficult for the average person to spot. But encountering a grandmaster observation haki like myself. Tisk tisk, not surprisingly, these people are the vanguards sent by the world government. I'm afraid they don't know much, and I would even venture to speculate that they know nothing at all. However, it still needs to be explored a little bit. Thinking about it, Lin Yan's figure suddenly flashed strangely, and then disappeared completely. Meanwhile on the other side, an inconspicuous corner on an isolated island. Captain, what on earth are we being asked to investigate? What does it mean that we were sent here but not given a mission? After a few days of finding nothing, an agent finally couldn't help but ask his captain. Since joining the workforce, he has never encountered anything as bizarre as this. Even if it's a classified mission, you have to explain it, right? What does it mean to put this group of people here? Shut up, you won't be on standby if there is no mission. Obviously this was not the first time I heard such a question, and the captain's answer seemed quite impatient. In fact, he was going crazy. Although he is an elite member of the world government, his treatment is completely different from that of these newbies, and his authority is much higher. But this time, damn lousy really doesn't know anything. The captain couldn't help but curse in his heart. God knows what he is going to do this time. Not to mention himself, even his immediate boss's immediate boss probably doesn't know much. The only possibility is related to this battle for the world's greatest swordsman. The above is aimed at the newly promoted 5th Sea Emperor. As for why, it is really not something that they, the little fish and shrimps, can know. Think of this. The captain calmed down and scolded the team members who were asking questions. Okay, don't think so much. Even if you know, how can you change the world? Do your duty honestly, and report to the superiors immediately if you find that person appears. The captain said impatiently. Then soon, he noticed something was wrong. What's the answer? Then the next second, the captain heard a lazy voice coming from behind. Are you looking for me? What? He immediately realized that something was wrong, but as soon as he turned his head, a strange eye with scarlet light suddenly appeared in his eyes. Then he simply lost consciousness. Tisk tisk, it's surprisingly useful. Seeing that the people around him had fallen to the ground and lost consciousness, Lin Yan smacked his lips with satisfaction, and then slowly put away his Sharingan. Lin Yan used illusion magic on these people just now. Although it is only a very basic illusion, it is enough to deal with these small fish and shrimps. And it's easy enough to use. Looking at the unconscious captain with rolled eyes, Lin Yan raised the corner of his mouth and smiled slightly, and then asked directly. Who are you? Then about half an hour later, Lin Yan threw him back with a look of disgust. This is already my third set of goals today. The results were absolutely no different. It is true that these people are agents of the world government. But almost nothing is known. Even the leading people only knew that they were going to pick up something at a specific time, but they had no clues other than that. So mysterious. This was the result several times in a row. Without even thinking about it, he knew that this was just a useless test, so Lin Yan was too lazy to continue. It seems that everything will be finalized only after the duel between himself and Mahawk begins. But speaking of that thing that needs to be connected, Lin Yan touched his chin and pondered. Lin Yan's mouth curled up slightly as he thought of something interesting, revealing a somewhat unpredictable smile on his face. This is really interesting. I hope you don't disappoint me then. The next few days seemed very peaceful. After realizing that the world government is extremely cautious this time and will never show its fangs until the end, and the confidentiality work is also at a crazy level, Lin Yan simply gave up and continued to test. It's the same old saying. The soldiers will come to block the water and cover it with soil, and that's it. Lin Yan has absolute confidence in his current strength. No matter what the world government comes up with, it is absolutely fine to escape intact. That being the case, still scared? It doesn't exist, right? So Lin Yan simply relaxed and spent the next few days eating and having fun. He and Shanks made appointments to drink and chat every day. Before you know it, the day of the decisive battle has arrived. All in all, be careful for a while. Shanks had been waiting outside the door early. Seeing Lin Yan walking out of the wooden house, Shanks didn't know what he was thinking, but Shanks actually expressed a rare expression of concern. Lin Yan glanced at him in surprise. This is the only kind word I've heard from you in recent times. Do you have a fever today? Shanks rolled his eyes. Seeing the helpless expression on Shanks' face, Lin Yan, who had defeated the army, laughed, but when passing by Shanks, he still nodded seriously. I'll keep an eye on it. So unconsciously, a smile appeared on Shanks' face. On the eve of the decisive battle, Lin Yan no longer needed to hide his identity. He threw away his hood and walked step by step to the agreed-upon location for the decisive battle under the watchful eyes of an astonishing number of swordsmen. The expression on Lin Yan's face was very calm. As if he didn't care about the upcoming battle at all, his posture looked very casual. But even doing nothing, just stood there quietly. Lin Yan's presence is also extremely oppressive. Especially now that the fighting spirit has been unleashed. It's scary. Is this the legendary 5th Emperor? It's even more powerful than Hawkeye. This time I came to the right place. Maybe we can take the opportunity to break through. Many swordsmen who saw Lin Yan for the first time noticed the oppressive atmosphere in the air, and all looked at Lin Yan in awe. Is this the aura of the world's top swordsman? Simply terrible. It makes people wonder whether they are human beings. Many fledgling swordsmen couldn't help but think this way in astonishment. This aura is as strong as a ghost. Just by looking at him, he knew that the other person was someone he could only look up to. And some of the few, more powerful swordsmen could not hide their excitement when they felt the sword intent emanating from Lin Yan. For their strength, it is undoubtedly very difficult to achieve another breakthrough in the way of swordsmanship. At this time, Lin Yan only relied on the sword intent emanating from his body. It already gave them a hint of insight. This is outrageous. Even Hawkeye, the world's greatest swordsman, would have a hard time doing this, right? Suddenly, these powerful swordsmen were even more looking forward to the next battle, regardless of the title of the world's greatest swordsman. But I want to know what truly top skills can achieve. This time it was not in vain. For a moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Lin Yan without exception, with admiration, awe, and unconcealable expectations. Lin Yan himself was just lazily leaning against the rock wall, looking like he was asleep. Nothing can affect his judgment. In the martial arts of another world, this state is often called shisui. it is the highest level of praise for a martial artist. In such a state, Lin Yan's judgment, eyesight, reaction ability, etc. have been improved to an incredible level. Lin Yan, now, you have adjusted yourself to the best condition. In order to prepare for the next battle, Mihawk, the world's greatest swordsman in the world of swordsmanship, is definitely not an opponent that anyone can underestimate. And for a swordsman, especially a swordsman like Hawkeye, the utmost respect. Just use all your strength and defeat him completely. As if they sensed Lin Yan's increasingly concentrated sword intent, even the older generation of swordmasters showed horrified expressions on their faces. How could a human being be so powerful? Is this already a monster? As Lin Yan's momentum became more and more powerful, gradually some young swordsmen began to be unable to bear this simple momentum and stepped back with uncomfortable expressions. His momentum alone forced back so many young swordsmen. This is simply unbelievable. Even some of the older generation's strong men gradually began to show uncomfortable expressions on their faces. Then just when this momentum reached its peak. Look! Hawkeye is coming! I don't know who shouted, and everyone looked in the direction of the sound. I don't know when. A small boat has appeared on the calm sea. And the man who was the world's greatest swordsman was standing on the bow of the ship with a stern expression. The world's greatest swordsman, Dracul Mihawk, is here as promised. Are you here? As if aware that something else had entered his field, Lin Yan finally slowly opened his eyes. At the same time, Mihawk looked straight over. Their eyes intertwined in midair for a moment. Lin Yan couldn't help but slightly raise the corners of his mouth. Just with this fierce fighting spirit, Mihawk has lived up to expectations. Only in this way can he be worthy of the title of the world's greatest swordsman. Mihawk arrived as promised. All the swordsmen present couldn't help but hold their breath. This is also a matter of course whether young or old, Mihawk's existence has long been at its peak, standing in the hearts of all swordsmen as an unsurpassable man. The title of the world's greatest swordsman is no joke. The Mihawk who bears this name. There is no doubt that it represents the ultimate in kendo in this world. Few swordsmen can remain calm in front of Mihawk. Except for the two people present. One is naturally Lin Yan as the opponent. And the other. Hey! Mihawk, it's been a long time since we last met, right? Are you still as autistic as ever? Undoubtedly. This voice was quite out of place. Mocking Hawkeye is Mihawk autistic. Many people almost choked to death on the spot at this man's words, while even more people stared angrily. But when everyone saw clearly the appearance of the man who spoke. But they all shrank back. I didn't see anything just now, I didn't know anything. The swordsmen were all watching with their eyes, nose and heart, and no one dared to speak out at this time. The reason is also very simple. Because the one who said this was 4 emperors red-haired Shanks. No. It should be called 5 emperors now. 3 of the world's top experts are gathered here, how can anyone else speak? Just listen honestly. And I heard that before the red-haired Shanks broke his arm, he was also a powerful swordsman who could rival Hawkeye. It's been a long time. Mihawk didn't seem to care at all about Shanks' ridicule to him. Mihawk just looked at Shanks very flatly. Especially when you see Shanks' broken arm. There was an inexplicable fluctuation in Hawkeye's eyes. And it's full of displeasure. You must know that Hawkeye rarely shows his emotions. You can imagine how unhappy Shanks' broken arm made Hawkeye. This is also the reason why the two have not sparred since Shanks broke his arm. However, Shanks himself didn't seem to care. Oh, don't say that, after all, we have been old friends for many years. It doesn't matter if you don't give me a hug when we meet. You don't look like you want to hack me to death, right? Shanks said nonchalantly. Hearing this, Hawkeye twitched the corner of his mouth in a very subtle way. Then he simply ignored Shanks, got off the boat, and walked directly past him towards Lin Yan. However, the moment the two figures crossed each other. Be careful, some people can't hold it anymore and are here for Lin Yan. Hawkeye's movements were inaudible for a moment, his falcon-like eyes narrowed slightly, and then he nodded slightly. I got it. Immediately, he passed Shanks directly and came to Lin Yan. Shanks smiled helplessly. However, I also know that my old friend takes it to heart, otherwise, Hawkeye has never been a character who likes nonsense. Lin Yan didn't have any unnecessary opinions on this. Then start. Seeing that Eagle Eye was already standing in front of him, Lin Yan finally stretched lazily, and then asked Eagle Eye with a smile. Can. Hawkeye's answer was as concise as ever, and everyone was almost used to it. For the man in front of him, the most important thing was always the way of the sword. Okay, it seems there's no need to warm up. Lin Yan raised the corner of his mouth and smiled slightly, then flipped his wrist, and at some point, a sword suddenly appeared in his hand. The whole body is wrapped in the transparent wind. It's the holy sword Excalibur. No one saw how Lin Yan suddenly took out a sword, but all the swordsmen who noticed the sword in Lin Yan's hand showed expressions of disbelief on their faces. That sword. How can a sword look like this? Wind? Looking at the breeze entwining the holy sword, everyone showed a bewildered expression. However, it is a pity that neither Lin Yan nor Mihawk will leave them time to continue to marvel. Boom. There seemed to be some very special tacit understanding, as the figures of the two people suddenly disappeared at the same moment. Then the next second, an earth-shattering roar shook the entire island. Quickly retreat. Even though they had overestimated the destructive power of the two people, everyone watching the battle was at least 100 meters away, but at the moment when the roar came, everyone was still clearly aware of it. I am still naive. Run. Seeing the powerful wave coming in an instant, which contained an astonishing sword intent, the expressions of all the swordsmen suddenly changed. Then quickly retreated towards the periphery. It wasn't until the farthest point was more than 300 meters away that everyone breathed a sigh of relief with lingering fear. Is this really something humans can do? I used to think I had some talent, but now, haha. It's so irritating to see people compare to each other. How can we reach that height? The younger swordsmen all showed doubts about life. That's ridiculous. It was just the aftermath of the battle that could easily injure an audience member 100 meters away. Are these two really not monsters? It is impossible to imagine what kind of force is at the center of the battle. Many young people were severely beaten. The older generation of swordsmen stood slightly closer and looked at them, but no one came to comfort them. Soon everyone turned their attention back. The so-called swordsmanship has always been like this. Like sailing against the current. I saw the world's top power when I was still a seedling. If I could withstand such a blow and work hard, I would be able to accomplish something in the future. If not, the results are naturally self-evident. Everyone is divided, and the battle at the top of the world continues. You are really strong. He exchanged swords with Lin Yan again and backed away, with a happy expression on Hawkeye's face. Too strong. This is the opponent you need. Hawkeye looked at Lin Yan with unrivaled fighting spirit in his eyes. For Mihawk, the title of the world's greatest swordsman doesn't matter at all. Whoever wants to take it can take it. As long as you can make yourself stronger. If we say that every swordsman in this world is a martial arts idiot, then the Mihawk in front of us is undoubtedly the craziest one. It is precisely because of this that he was able to reach where he is now. At this time, Hawkeye could not hide his excitement when he encountered Lin Yan, a powerful enemy who could suppress him. That's right, I was actually suppressed. Well, of course you don't need to say this, continue? Lin Yan had a very relaxed smile on his face, stretched out his hand and held a sword flower in front of Eagle Eye and asked. Continue. Hawkeye answered without hesitation, and then rushed forward again. Boom, boom. For a moment, the roar was endless, and Hawkeye used his strongest strength, but he could not break Lin Yan's defense no matter what. This feeling made him intoxicated. Shanks on the other side also squinted his eyes to observe this battle. Among all the people, as a top expert, he was the closest and naturally saw the clearest. Tisk tisk. These two were monsters. Looking at the two figures who were almost invisible, even Shanks said with sighs. Hawkeye is strong enough. The title of the world's greatest swordsman is not just talk. As an old rival and old friend, Shanks can responsibly say that there is almost a cliff-edge gap between Hawkeye and the swordsmen of his generation if we just talk about swordsmanship. Being born in the same era as this man is a tragedy for all swordsmen. Shanks has always firmly believed that in terms of talent in swordsmanship, there is no one more pervert than Hawkeye. It turns out, if Hawkeye is extremely talented, Lin Yan, that's simply outrageous. So Shanks has nothing to worry about the outcome of this battle. Even his old friend may not be able to face that monster. Oh, it's coming. Observing the battle between the two at close range, Shanks' eyes suddenly lit up at a certain moment. But Hawkeye's expression suddenly changed. Whoosh. At extremely fast speed, the two passed by each other in an instant, but this time Hawkeye did not immediately pursue him like before. But suddenly stood there. The expression on his face rarely became a little uncertain. At some point, there was a bloodstain on his hand. Logically speaking, as a swordsman, Hawkeye is not unfamiliar with injuries, but this is the first time he has been injured like this. The man's eyes rarely became suspicious. After being silent for a long time, he suddenly asked Lin Yan. Just now, what was that? From Mihawk's perspective. I was stabbed inexplicably just now. That's right, inexplicable. At that moment just now, even I almost didn't catch when the sword came over, as if it appeared there in an instant. If it weren't for his amazing eyesight, coupled with the long-term battle training, Hawkeye would have reached the entry-level level of the mind's eye. I'm afraid I can't escape that moment just now. But even so, it is extremely thrilling. Hawkeye had never seen such a weird sword skill before, so naturally he couldn't help but ask. Well, we're still in a duel, so it wouldn't be nice to tell you our cards like this, right? Lin Yan smiled at Hawkeye. Then he pointed the holy sword in his hand at the man in front of him. If you want to know, try again. Good. Hawkeye nodded without hesitation, and then rushed directly towards Lin Yan. However, compared to the previous opening and closing, the movements this time were much more careful, and his eyes were fixed on the holy sword in Lin Yan's hand. Then the next second, the same scene happened again. The sword blade disappeared from his sight in an instant. Then he appeared in another place in an instant. If he hadn't been mentally prepared, Hawkeye would not have been able to react. Just like before, he only managed to escape this attack. Just like the previous time, Hawkeye once again stood there and meditated. After a moment, Hawkeye raised his head. Come again. There was still no nonsense, and it was still the same result. However, this time after standing still, there was a hint of understanding on Hawkeye's face. I see. Your muscles, the way you control them is different from mine. That's why it turned out like that just now. As expected of you. Hearing what Hawkeye said, Lin Yan couldn't help but look a little surprised. He could see through the most essential things in just 3 times. He is worthy of being recognized as a super genius. It seems I got it right. Seeing the surprised expression on Lin Yan's face, Hawkeye nodded his head. This was the first time in his life that he had seen such a weird sword skill. Thinking about it, Hawkeye suddenly put down his sword and began to think deeply. Then Lin Yan slowly spoke with an expression of surprise again. I seem to have some good ideas. Lin Yan, can we stop here today and come back in 3 days? No cover up. No, I am sorry. Hawkeye said this very calmly. This kind of style is also in line with his character. In order to advance further in the way of swordsmanship, Hawkeye will give up anything, let alone just a little face. I have to say, this sounds really weird. To put it bluntly, it's like losing rock, paper, scissors and then changing it to best of 3. However, Lin Yan laughed. After all, if it weren't for this, the man across from him wouldn't be Mihawk. Have you had an epiphany so quickly? Well, give me 3 days and I can become stronger. Hawkeye nodded his head very seriously and said. All I can say is that he truly deserves to be a super genius at the top. There is no doubt that if we simply discuss the talent of a swordsman, the Hawkeye in front of us is definitely the strongest in the world. One of a kind. But unfortunately, Hawkeye is a talented player. And I am a cheater. Looking at the eagle eye in front of him, Lin Yan suddenly raised the corner of his mouth and smiled as he thought of something quite interesting. Now that I have an epiphany, in order to make you stronger in 3 days, I will also show you a little bit of my trump card. Lin Yan said softly. Then the next second, under the sudden change in Hawkeye's expression, the whole person disappeared in an instant. Tisk. This monster. Seeing this scene, even Shanks who was watching the game couldn't help but cursed. This pervert technique. Is this the actual usage? Through the perfect control of all the muscles in the body, it brings incredible ultimate explosive power. It is a technology that is undoubtedly at the pinnacle of taijutsu. And when this amazing skill is no longer limited to simple chopping, but is completely used in combat, it will become like this. Eagle Eye couldn't see what was going on at all. Lin Yan's figure seemed to be flickering, and the speed of the attack was close to teleportation. That is definitely not something that can be reflected simply by relying on eyesight. And then at that moment just now, I was stabbed 18 times, a total of $18. Until Lin Yan returned to the place with a smile on his face, Hawkeye was still stunned, as if he was recalling the amazing scene just now. After a while, Hawkeye slowly exhaled a breath of turbid air. The man nodded extremely seriously to Lin Yan. Thank you, I learned a lesson.